Have ChatGPT Premium?
Yeah, it's worth the $20
a month.
Look at what it just created for us.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, you know how long it would take me to do that?
Very long.
Never would have been able to accomplish it.
AI is doing some really impressive stuff.
All right, here we go. Greetings, everybody. Welcome to Guys Sports Night. I am your host, Will McEwen, and I am here with always Ed. What is going on, sir?
What's up, Will? How we doing today?
Dude, we are doing fantastic because today we have the keys to the Cleveland Browns. We're going to talk a little bit about the offseason, what takes place during the NFL offseason. We'll talk about some things that are nuances, such as the laws about free agency, when the league year starts, the NFL draft. We'll talk about some trades ideas, and we're going to get into our own ideas of what we think the Cleveland Browns should do. So stay tuned for that. If you've got your own ideas and you're listening, make sure you shout out what you think the Cleveland Browns or whatever your favorite team is. I know Ed's got a little bit of love for the Green Bay Suckers, but, you know, we're going to do – I mean, when you
still made it further into the playoffs than you.
This year, Ed. There's always next year.
Yeah.
There's always next year. Anyhow, obviously a lot going on in the NFL right now. A lot of veterans are being released currently, and this in the wake of the combine. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the draft process. We're going to talk about our favorite guys. You know, obviously you got McShay, you got Kuiper out there doing their thing. Daniel Jeremiah might be one of the biggest names as far as getting stuff actually correct. And then we're talking a little about Shefty too and his thing. But first of all,
You're paying no respect to my boy Field Yates.
Field Yates to me is somebody
Field
that
Yates
just
is the
doesn't
man,
get
dude.
that much
What the
time
fuck?
You know what? You got to have love for somebody.
You have Matthew
Yours
Berry,
is
you have Field
obviously-
Yates, you have Dan Orlovsky, you have Peter Schrager. Those four dudes know ball, okay?
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to hear anything about it. Don't you dare disrespect my boys.
I can appreciate it. Well, before we get into the Cleveland Browns, let's talk about the AFC North in general. Ed, I'll let you kind of start off. What's your thoughts on the AFC North right now and where each of the teams stand?
I think all four teams are really still trying to develop a identity for themselves. I think, you know, the turnover with coaching for the Cleveland Browns and Pittsburgh Steelers, and I shouldn't say that, Baltimore Ravens as well, is a big, big hindrance to the success of those teams. Mike Tomlin was stagnant for a very long time. He went 8-9, 7-10, or 10-7, so on and so forth. 9-8, 10-7. Sorry. John Harbaugh just couldn't seem to, get clutched up when it's needed to win. Relied heavily on Lamar. And the Bengals, outside of that Super Bowl run, Joe Burrow has been constantly injured. They're allocating money into very terrible places. And then you have, obviously, the Browns, a classic just dog shit franchise for the last 20 years, not knowing what the hell they're doing.
Now, you can't say they're a dog shit franchise.
They don't know their ass from a hole in the ground, Will. Okay. When it comes
ugly.
to football, they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground.
It's ugly in Cleveland. We find ourselves back in the same situation we do every 2, 3, or 4 years. I think there was a good couple of years in between there where we saw some finally maybe things were going to go right. I agree a lot on what you say. With Pittsburgh, I mean, I think the reason they moved on is they have never gone through that complete rebuild and that suffrage age, and they might be about to now. You look at the fact they're still waiting on Aaron Rodgers to see if he's going to return and if they have a quarterback. I mean, at what point do you be like, this didn't work?
I want people to understand that having to rebuild is not a bad thing. There's ebbs and flows. There's peaks and valleys. There's all of those things that you're going to go through as a franchise in general, regardless of what sport it is. You look at the Cavs rebuilding after LeBron left.
Twice.
Yeah, twice.
There
were some ugly years. There were some ugly years post LeBron multiple times. But
Yeah.
even still, you have to go through those valleys in order to get some obviously gain some ground and move up into the peaks of the sports echelon. Is that the right term I'm using there?
Yeah, of course. And just to go through the rest of that, I mean, you've got DK Metcalf is your star receiver who caused all kinds of issues last year. I'm not sure what the Steelers are going to do with him, if he'll be on the trade bait or the trade discussions come pre-draft and even a little bit afterwards.
He's
Obviously,
owed a lot of money, man.
Well, he's voided that contract, all that guaranteed money now, his incidents last year. So that kind of puts the Steelers it's in their ball. The ball's in their court, so to say. Baltimore, I really don't know. I think we started to see the downfall of Baltimore last year. I think as you saw Lamar Jackson develop his passing game, but obviously he's going to be nearly 30 years old, right? 28, 29 years old.
Yep.
You don't see the 70-yard touchdown runs that you saw in his initial couple of years. And then finally, they've had issues with wide receiver. They have Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is he's awesome 70% of the time. There's 30% of the time he's just atrocious. They're going to lose Isaiah most likely as a second tight end in free agency.
No pun intended.
And then when you expand to their defense is really what lost them probably 2 or 3 games down the stretch last year. By just giving up too many points in the fourth quarter. So Baltimore's at that point right now where they're at the mid, if you would say, echelon. Don't know if they're going to be a playoff team next year. And then finally, Cincinnati, which Cincinnati is an injury to Joe Burrows away from being a 3-win football team. If a healthy Joe Burrows, they're a 10 or 11 win football team. But that defense, they're losing Trey Hendrickson this year. They're going to take a hit in the secondary with some big, either they're going to have to give up some money, which they don't ever have, or, whatever the case might be with that. So that's another team where now they're going to, every game's going to be a shootout with them if they have a healthy Jamar Chase, a healthy Joe Burrows.
Why don't you slow down and take a breath for a second? Well, just relax. I'm not going to run away from you. I'm right here, man. I get it. It's a lot of stuff that we want to talk about today, but you're right.
No, but I mean, with that offense, if it's slanging, we saw what they even did last year with Joe Flacco running the helm. They had quite a few games where they put up 30, 40 points. So if Joe Burrow can stay healthy, that team can be a contender as long as the defense can give up less points than Joe Burrow can score. But if an another injury happens, which I think has happened now 4 out of his 5 seasons, he's missed at least 4 or 5 or more games. So if you were a strong Cleveland Browns team and you had a quarterback, this would be the time to take over the division.
Yeah, I mean, if they were, in the proper spot to do something like that. One note I did make here, I wanted to just touch on this with you. With Mike McCarthy now coming in as the head coach for the Steelers, Mike McCarthy is the Doc Rivers of the NFL.
How do you say so?
Well, Doc Rivers was a consistent winner, I should say. He performed above average in the regular season for a lot of coaches. Won one big ring one time and has just stood on that resume for all the jobs that he's had outside of that.
Yeah.
So you look at the Packers, Mike McCarthy obviously won that big ring with them way early on in Rodgers' career.
Sure.
In the early, in the mid 2010s, or I'm sorry, mid 2000s. Same thing with Doc Rivers winning one big ring with the Celtics. Obviously, the Paul Pierce, Ray Allen.
Yeah, I mean,
KG.
the team was jacked, but
yeah, that team was awesome. But that was the peak of his resume.
Sure.
That's it. Everything else has been built on the fact that, he's a Super Bowl winning coach. He's an NBA champion coach.
He also went to Dallas, and he won 11, 10, 12 games.
Yeah, but he never got back to that peak, though.
He just never won in the playoffs. Winning in the playoffs is hard, though. It's interesting. We always have this thing where, they got to the playoffs, but they didn't win in the playoffs. I mean, you can look at resumes like, okay, is Josh Allen one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL? Sure. Has he been to the Super Bowl? No. Right? Patrick Mahomes, he didn't get to the Super Bowl last year. Does that mean he had a big drop off and he's not one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL, or did the team fail around him?
Mahomes is progressively regressing.
To a degree, he's still Patrick Mahomes. He's just, at some point in time, he's not doing the Brady thing where he kind of matures into making the right decisions and meticulously moves the ball down the field. He's still become kind of the gunslinger, which when you don't have Tyreek Hill and you don't have,
he really hasn't been a gunslinger though. I'm going to show you some stuff after.
All right, we'll get
into kind of deep diving into that, but I know what you're saying here.
But ultimately, anybody can win games, but then get into that Super Bowl. I mean, how many Super Bowl winners have we had over the last 10 years? How many individual Super Bowl winners, even going back 20 years? I mean, you had the Patriots who won, 5 of them, 6 of them? You had, you've had many dynasties. You had the Chiefs that won 3.
I think really outside of that, if you take the Chiefs and the Patriots away, there's only been very few. You had the Rams.
Yeah.
That one.
You just had Seahawks, which I think that's their second in the last 20 years.
Second.
You've had the Eagles, won 1, lost 1.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it's hard to get to that big game. So sure, when you get a Super Bowl winning coach, it's a big deal, or any sport for that matter. But I think there just goes to show how much more goes into it. We talked about any given Sunday, football being a game of inches, right? You could have the best roster on the field, and your star quarterback could have a knee injury going into the AFC Championship game. You could be the Cleveland Browns, where coming back against the Kansas City Chiefs, about to go in for a touchdown, make it a 1-score game, and Hollywood Higgins has the ball knocked out of his hands at the goal line going into the halftime, and it's a fumble touchback, and the Browns don't get the score. They end up losing that game by a possession. ultimately ending on the fact that a third string quarterback runs for a first down on 3rd and I think 19 against the Browns defense, right?
Talk about that Chad Henne play.
God, it's fucking brutal.
Even though there was targeting and they missed it.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly.
I know what you're saying.
But you go back to that team and it's like, okay, was our coach the reason that game didn't go that way? No, shit just fucking happens. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the AFC North. I think it's gonna be a battle to see who sucks the most every Sunday. But going into that, this week was the combine. I wanted to kind of ask you, did any position board groups jump up to you on the draft board? And then who helped and who hurt themselves the most? And who was the workout warrior this weekend?
So I guess positional wise, one position that I've been really, really hammering on, and I guess it's just because the Browns needed the most offensive tackles.
Sure.
Offensive line in general. I really liked a lot of the guys overall. I still love Fano, Maui Goa, but the biggest guy that helped himself is Monroe Freely.
Right, because he was the athletic standout, right? They said he's a 9.9 out of 10. He's basically a perfect score athletically for an offensive tackle. He's perfect size, perfect build, had a good score. Fano did fantastic too when it came to the drills. He ran like a 4. It's so crazy. They say like a 4.9 40 for a 330-pound, 6'5" tackle. Like, just put that into perspective.
You could outrun 99% of the population.
Well, I mean, even just put it into perspective, like Jerry Rice ran like a 4.7.
No, he didn't. Did he really?
Yeah,
I didn't know.
Jerry Rice was one of the slowest receivers to come. Like, it's just crazy when you like put it into that concept. One, how much athletes have changed over the last 30 years, but two, what speed means relatively in a straight line versus on the field. It's very different. Deion Sanders, Lamar Jackson, these are athletes who, when you put pads on them and they're on the field, it's like they don't have pads, right? They just move differently. They look faster. They look quicker. Reggie Bush was the same way.
Yeah.
You have these athletes. They might not be the fastest as far as game speed goes, but they look faster on the field.
Yeah. It's the same thing of just numbers and statistics versus just the eye test.
And as far as offensive tackles go, I think it probably is a lot to do because of you being a Browns fan, and the Browns, we're going to get into their positions of weakness, but offensive line is where a lot of people are focusing this year. Interesting fact though, McShay actually came out this week and he said, you know what, this offensive line, if you took the 3 best offensive linemen here, none of them were a top talent last year, not a top 10 talent last year's draft versus the offensive tackles that came out. In fact, so it goes to show you, it's like, okay, are we looking at these tackles and thinking they're great because we need them and we need a tackle and we just always look as like teams need a left tackle? I mean, let's think about it. There's not the Joe Thomas. Like the difference between like a Joe Thomas who rated like a 93 coming out of college versus a Fano who rates it like an 84 is so night and day difference. You talk about it before your time probably, but Walter Jones out of Florida State back in the day. I'm drawing a blank, couple others, but there are some tackles that have come out that were top 5 picks, and they lived up to being top 5 left tackles for 10, 12 years in the NFL. None of these guys are probably going to be that top 5 tackle.
Like in the league, you're saying?
Yeah, in the league. Like none of these guys are going to be that tackle that dominates the left side of the offensive line for, the foreseeable future for a team. You might have a couple that do well, some that maybe make a couple of Pro Bowls, but unless they significantly improve over the course of 3 or 4 years, get the right offensive line coach like a Bill Callahan or somebody of that nature, like you might not see them actually progress and do much better. They could be a Jedrick Wills.
Well, there's 2 comments I want to make. So it's coming out of college and progressing versus just being that star stud right then and there. Like just because where you're at right now at 20, 21, 22 years old, it's not going to define who you are later in your career. Okay. It's all about and my other point to that is coaching then as well. If the right guy's in the right situation, anything is possible. I think we're projecting a little bit like we always like to during mock draft season, of course, and the season of projecting. I just think there's a lot of good things, good qualities that a lot of these guys are showing. And Monroe stuck out to me the most. He's an athlete, like you said, he's an athletic freak. I think he's got good character traits. And I think, honestly, he's probably the most dominant left tackle in the class right now, to say the least. And you don't have to be a great player last year to all of a sudden be this insane one this year. Look at Arvell Reese. You know where he was at the national championship game?
On the bench.
On the bench.
Right.
And you know where he is right now? He's a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
Okay, it's all about progression.
Sure.
So you don't have to go from 0 to 100. But if you go from 20 to 60, 60 to 70, 70 to 78, 88 or 78 to 90,
40 to 39, 80 to 2
but
to
you know what
60.
I'm saying?
This way, that way.
If you're able to progress, if you're able to properly progress at least, and develop.
Sure. But it's times like this when we talk about these top 5 picks in the NFL draft. Let's just take the Cleveland Browns for one instance, right? Now, there's some defensive ends that are coming out in this draft. Arvell Reese, David Bailey, that people are talking about. Now they're talking about Sonny Styles as an edge rusher because, once again, Workout Warrior had an amazing
I didn't realize he was that big.
I didn't realize he was that fast.
He was a safety.
But so here we are. We're talking about these different guys, and none of these guys compare to Myles Garrett coming out of college. Like, if you watch the tape, what's the other guy's name from Miami too that I really liked during the playoff run? Ruben Baines. So none of these guys, if you compare tape of them to Myles Garrett in college, it is so night and day. Like, you knew that Myles Garrett was just going to wreck the NFL. These guys could easily become Vernon Gholston.
I don't really think this draft class is like a superstar studded. I know who Vernon Gholston is.
You do?
I've heard of the name, yes.
Do you know anything about him?
I know who he is. I know of him. I'm not familiar with him.
He's an Ohio State guy back in the day who I think was like he might have been number 5 overall for the Jets. He came out of nowhere during the combine. He was an outside linebacker for Ohio State.
Okay,
just had these ridiculous measurements, and he got drafted similar to Barkevious Mingo. I'm sure you remember Barkevious Mingo. Shout out to the speed rusher out of LSU who came to Cleveland and did nothing, but he might have won a Super Bowl with
I played hoops with him one time.
Did you?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Up at the rec center. Yeah.
Small world, dude. So yeah, I mean, we talk about these top 5 picks, but ultimately there's not a surefire number 1 this year. In fact, it feels like everybody's holding on to their draft picks. Like, I don't think there's going to be movement in the top 30 at all. Maybe up or down a couple of picks because nobody wants to give up a first next year.
I think 2022 was honestly the last time, and even before that, 2018 was the last time that a really, really dominant class got me shaking in my boots for the terror that could ensue.
So 18 was the draft class with Baker.
It was Mayfield, Allen, all those guys.
Denzel Ward, right?
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Denzel come out of that draft class?
He was 4th overall pick.
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley.
God, that was a great draft. That was exciting. I would have been happy with any of those.
In 22, and 22 was just like that. I don't remember everybody that came out.
Do you remember anybody from 22?
Oh, man, I'll be honest, no.
Such a memorable draft class.
But there was a lot of good talent that came out of that. Do I remember every player? No, but I know for a fact that there was a lot of good talent in that. I'm pretty sure Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase were in that class.
Oh, hey, you know what? Maybe the Cleveland Browns might
22 was too long ago.
Sign Cody Kessler. We could always go back to Cody Kessler.
We're not going back to that UCLA product. Or he was USC. Was he USC or UCLA?
He should have been. I don't know. I don't remember where Cody Kessler went to school out. Shout out to Raul Havana. Go ahead and let us know where Kessler went to school at. Thanks for liking and subscribing to the channel. Guys, this is Guys Sports Night. We go live every Tuesday night. This is just a couple of guys hanging out in my awesome basement. But if you ever like to
tell
join the
them
show,
that we're in the studio.
It's in my basement.
It just so happened to be your basement.
But if any of you guys would ever like to join the podcast, please don't hesitate to reach out, comment below, shout me an email at support@guysnight with a K.com. And we'd be happy to have you on, whether it's to talk sports or you want to come on and talk about anything else on the Guys Night podcast, which we also run out of here. So
I'm sorry,
right.
Will, I have to just interrupt you here. I'm sorry. This is the draft class of 2022. Okay,
and
thank you.
And Raul, yes, I would have. Josh Gordon, supplemental draft highlights. What?
So I'll tell you some names of the first round of 2022. All
right, shoot.
I'm sorry. I apologize for messing this up already.
That's all right.
It's Aiden Hutchinson at the number 2 spot. Derek Stingley at number 3. Sauce Gardner at 4. Caleb Von Thibodeau at 5. Ika Makwanu.
Thibodeau is like, eh.
Yeah. Evan Neal also was a man, but Garrett Wilson, Jamison Williams, Chris Olave, Kyle Hamilton. We're going to go scroll down a little bit. Kenny Pickett was in that class.
Our only quarterback taken in the
Trent
first round.
McDuffie, Kyer Elam, Tyler Smith, Tyler Linderbaum, Jermaine Johnson, Devin Lloyd.
About him a little bit later.
George
Karlaftis. It was an okay class. I mean, really, the secondary stole the show. I mean, you got Kyle Hamilton, you got Stingley, you got.
There's a lot. Breece Hall
Gardner
was in this class as well.
They just got franchise tags, $16 million.
I know.
Today.
That's a little wild.
I mean, they're hopefully they work something out long term. I think that's the goal. But yeah. All right. So we talked about position changes. Let's talk about who helped themselves specifically. Jeremiah Love's going to be a top 10 pick. I think he's solidified that. A running back with that runs like he does and then pulls a 4.36, I think, in my notes.
I think there's just so much talent in this. I see. I personally said Sonny Styles for this decision. But
well, it's hard not to. 6'5", 244, had a 43-inch vertical and ran a 4.46. I mean, everybody's talking about, did he solidify himself as a top 10? He kind of reminds me of, not to cut you off, is Isaiah Simmons.
Oh,
coming out of Clemson.
Yeah.
I loved Isaiah Simmons.
What happened with him?
Even last year. So he got traded to the Giants for a 7th round pick after like 2 years, which I was pissed the Browns didn't give up a 7th.
He was on the Packers for a little bit too.
I was gonna say, then he was a free agent. Then I want to say one of the Browns to sign him again, and I think that's might have when he went to Green Bay. And I don't know what he's doing right now, but he was similar. Remember, he's like 6'4", 230.
Yeah, he was a big
ran
kid.
a 4.3 40 at the combine.
Everybody, he was almost very much. He almost kind of profiled like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
Yeah, but he was tall.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would, in that case, you said, Sonny Styles is a safety, kind of an edge outside linebacker.
Well, he was a
safety.
safety. He started his career at Ohio State as a safety.
Yeah.
Then converted into that linebacker spot. But he's big enough to dude. He's big enough to play off the edge.
Well, sure.
He's fucking huge.
In a 4.3 or especially a 3.4 maybe. But so that just gives you an idea, especially the fact that he's played safety. He'll probably play really well in a 3.4. But that's where I said that's how Isaiah Simmons was. He was at 6'4". He played strong safety and linebacker. Played corner in college. Those are the Deshaun Watson championship years.
Yeah.
You might. You remember
he was
Deshaun
on
Watson,
that team with
famous
Deshaun,
quarterback
that
of the Cleveland Browns.
Fucking piece of shit.
We're gonna get to Deshaun tonight too.
Oh God, why? Why do you have to aggravate me every time we talk about Deshaun
I can't help
Watson?
myself.
I hate talking about him.
So Monroe Freely was the other one, near perfect score for an offensive tackle. Him and Sonny Styles had the highest scores in the athletic department. And then Kenyon Sadiq.
Kenyon Sadiq, a tight end out of Oregon.
Do any of the tight end catching drills at all, but he shows up at 6'3", 240 and runs a 4.39 40, and now he's probably gonna. You know who drafts guys like that? The Las Vegas Raiders now. The Raiders would draft him. I mean, if they were like a top 10 pick, but not number 1, if they were like number 8, the Raiders would definitely draft Kenyon Sadiq. He just fits the mold all day long.
So I understand where you're coming from with that, but logically it wouldn't make sense because they have Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer.
Well, you could, that's right. They do have Michael Mayer too. God, they are stacked at tight end. That sounds like a Kevin Stefanski offense waiting to happen.
Yeah, except they don't know what the hell 12 personnel even looks like. So.
Brutal.
I also said David Bailey. He's been a big riser of a lot of people's boards. I think he solidified himself as a second pick. Really good. David Bailey.
I think he's, I don't know.
It's him and Arvell for me personally. And I even said Arvell, he solidified himself as a top 5 pick. I think those
athletically, here's the thing. It just depends on what team they go to, who they're going to play with. I mean, what I love, Arvell Reese, dude's a freak. Even David Bailey was pretty aggressive. But I watched David Bailey. I watched all 12 of his sacks this year.
Yeah.
Very, I would just say, like, was not impressed. And no, like, in some cases,
would you call it coincidental?
Well, I would just say in some cases they were coverage sacks, and some cases it was like a tier 3 left tackle that he went up. He literally put his hands up. The dude almost fell over backwards, and then he stopped for a second and then came in and got the sack.
They were playing Southern Tuscarawas County Community College.
Well, I mean, it was just when you watched it, it was just one of those things where it's like I didn't see anything where, like, okay, I'll give you an example: Reuben Baines versus Ohio State.
Yeah.
And, dude, that dude shot out like a cannon, was destroying anybody they put in front of him and making plays.
He's got little T-Rex arms.
Well, didn't measure out well, which means he'll probably, I think we talked about this, he'll be more like a Brandon Graham or something of that nature. He's going to be a 3-4 defensive end, not a 4-3 defensive end, most likely.
And here's the thing is I think measurements are a big thing. I think even having all the workouts together is a great thing, but it doesn't define who the player is at the end of the day. Again, I think there's a good combination, a good mixture, a good concoction of a cocktail, of whatever you want to call it, of character traits that are built into the player, qualities and redeemable qualities and characteristics that a player has built into himself, and coaching and just natural given talent, all mixed together, stirred up and drank perfectly. And I think that could work out perfectly for any player. Now it's just a matter of balancing all that out, finding that right concoction. Because there are some players that they're great players and they just butt heads.
Yeah, 100% agree. For you guys watching, appreciate you tuning in. This is Guys Sports Night. Tonight we're talking the Browns offseason, what Ed and I would do if we were had the keys to the Cleveland Browns. We're giving ourselves the keys to the Cleveland Browns tonight. So we're going to get in a little bit soon. We're talking kind of post-combine, biggest ups and downs for who kind of dominated, who was the workout warrior. One of the guys that I had down is somebody who got hurt themselves, and I'm kind of a little excited about this because I'm hoping it drops him down to that 4th round range. Malachi Fields. We brought him up.
He did not measure well.
4.6 40, looked lost and crumpled in routes, I think is what I saw. Just had some areas where he did not look like a top-notch receiver. And for a guy who won a lot of deep balls, 4.61's not going to get that done in the NFL.
No, you're going to get swamped by anybody.
He could. So what is that? That turn told me, I was like, okay, well, maybe Malachi Fields isn't a number 1 receiver. Maybe he's Donovan Peoples-Jones. Who had great ball control, did a great job of winning contesting catches, didn't separate a lot, but it didn't matter.
He just put himself in the right place at the right time.
When Bake threw it out there, he was making the catches.
He just made the right plays at the right time.
Yeah, 100%. So I like Malachi Fields. I'm still hoping that he's out there in the 4th, 5th round. That could be a flyer receiver.
Can I be honest with you here real quick?
But it's 6'5", 240. A 4.61 is not slow. I mean, that's the funny thing. We talk about slow, 4.6, and just to cut you off, 4.6
no, you're good.
Versus 4.2.
Yeah.
0.2 of a second.
That's
like, I couldn't even say in 0.2 of a second. So for us to measure a guy's career success, and like I just sat down, we were just talking about Jerry Rice at a 4.7. For you to say at 4.61, this receiver is not going to be able to be a good receiver in the NFL. Yeah. I mean, Jarvis Landry also ran a 4.7.
Did he really?
Yeah, dude. It's all about getting off the ball. It's all about those hands, and it's about catching the football, dude. If you can win contested catches, it's okay if you're not wide open. If you're Anthony Schwartz, doesn't matter if you're wide open because you're the fastest receiver in the NFL. You can't catch the ball.
Stones for hands. Yeah, when you got 2 big boulders glued to your hands.
Welcome to those joining us. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I am Will. This is Ed. This is the Guys Sports Night. We get together live every Tuesday, talk a little bit of sports. This week we're rebuilding the Cleveland Browns. Ed, what did I cut you off on earlier?
No, I interrupted you. My bad. I was just going to say again, measurements are one thing, and speed is another. Like speed is another big thing. But again, like straight line is a very rare thing. I don't really see guys ever run just straight 30 yards down the field and expect it to just the ball magically pop into their hands.
No, of course not.
There's a lot. I think the route tree and the route systems have grown over the years and evolved. So for me personally, speed is a great thing, but if you can't run a route to save your life, if you can't make a 90-degree turn, like it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I think that's where some of the other measurements are going to come in. Their 40 time, their cone time, their shuffle times.
I had Tate and Tyson both fall off in terms of they're hurting themselves. Not by a lot. Doesn't need to be a drastic fall, but I definitely didn't like what they didn't test.
Well, you had Tate run the 4.54, of course, right? And they have the funny quote by the Bills GM who's sitting in the booth when he ran. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear it.
He's like, "Oh man, he's slow. Probably wouldn't draft him." And I was like, "Yeah, I'd hope he drops to 23 too, or whatever the Bills are." Tate was a disappointing. I mean, when you're talking about a receiver at number 6 overall, and ultimately, dude, if you have a top 10 pick, you just need a guy who's going to be on your team for the next 8 years and be, not be a Justin Gilbert.
I think if you're going to do something like that, you really have to be Mendoza at that point. Like you're locked into a certain spot. You're fine with where you're at. You don't need to do anything extra. People are already familiar with your tape. People know what you're about. I think all 3 of the big 3 that we've talked about, even big 4, I think all 4 of them in Jordan Tyson, Malachi Lemon. Oh, I'm sorry. It's Makai Lemon.
Makai Lemon.
I've been saying Malachi. My bad.
Malachi.
Makai Lemon, Carnell Tate, and Omar Cooper Jr. I think all 4 of them have still major question marks in all their games. Whether it's route tree running, speed, injury consistencies, anything like that. Whatever you want to move on and down to, they all have their question marks. None of them are the locked-in number 1 guy. I think there's an argument for any of them to go anywhere in this draft between 3 and 32.
So we're going to talk about the draft here in a little bit, but the other thing too, you mentioned, none of these guys are Mendoza, right? Mm-hmm. And when you said that, I thought to myself, okay, if I was the Oakland Raiders or Las Vegas Raiders,
you can call them Oakland still,
would I even, I want you to take a look. This is next year's potential quarterback draft, right?
I'm drooling over this class.
Drew Mestamaker, 6'4", 211, 4,300 yards passing this year, 34 touchdowns. Obviously, that was with North Texas. Now he's going to be at Oklahoma State. You got Trinidad Chambliss, who won his case. He's going to be back at Ole Miss for another year, 3,900 yards, 22 touchdowns.
They granted him that?
Yeah, he got that. You got Jaden Maeva out of USC, 6'4", 230. Ran that offense flawlessly last year, and he's going to be available next year. Julian Sayin, obviously Ohio State fans out there love that guy, 3,600 yards, 32 touchdowns. Dante Moore, who was arguably going to be in a battle between Mendoza this year for the number 1 overall pick, decides to stay. 3,500 yards, 30 touchdowns, 10 picks. We all know Arch Manning is coming out this year. That name alone is, well, excuse me, in the 2027 draft. Right. Yeah. Arch Manning, 6'4", 218, 3,100 yards, 26 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I think he missed 3 games. Lenore Sellers, who I'm not a big fan of, but apparently his athleticness is what's really winning him over. 6'3", 240. Apparently the guy runs like a freaking bull in a china shop. 2,400 yards, 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, but they talked about him being a possible top 10 pick. He ultimately decided to stay in South Carolina along with his freak of a wide receiver who I wanted the Browns to get this year, Nick Harbor. 6'4", 236, 4'3", 40, 42-inch vertical. Just
I have yet to watch really any South Carolina
sick,
tape. Maybe I got to tune into some Gamecocks.
He ended wanted to go back, and then good luck spelling this one. Nico Lavea. Forgive me to all the Hawaiians out there who I just butchered that name.
Iamaleava.
6'6", 215, threw for 2,000 yards, 13 touchdowns last year at UCLA. He'll be a name to watch this year. But this is a draft class where ultimately I would almost take all of those quarterbacks over the 2 quarterbacks in this draft that are drawing names. So
can I be very, very anal and tell you that you forgot DJ Lagway?
I didn't forget him. I just ran out of spot on the sheet. Yeah, out of Florida. I think he's like
Baylor.
6'3", 220. Did he transfer?
Yep.
See, that must be why I didn't catch on to it.
Regardless, though, you're absolutely correct. This draft class next year, especially for the QBs.
Yeah, so I find it funny when they're talking.
I'm going to stop you right here really quick.
All right, go ahead.
I'm going to slow you down here real quick. We're just talking about the guys that we know that are proven big names that were supposed to be breakouts this year. And all of them have, in their own respective manners, made some headlines, both good or bad. Wait till we find out about the guys that are just still now getting their ball rolling, that are coming into 20 from 25, now going into 26, that can put that shit together like Arvell Reese did.
Well, yeah, and there's also the fact that we don't know. I mean, there's quarterbacks out on this list, and I pulled this list based off of a couple of things, a couple of 2027 mock drafts, a couple of other pieces.
Who do you think's the worst name on this list? I want you to rank these for me, Will.
All right, let's see.
1 through 7.
All right. All right, let's go with
8. Sorry, 1 through 8.
I'm gonna go with 1 and 1. Oh gosh,
1A. You want to go 1A, 1B?
I say 1A, 1B for me is going to be Arch Manning and Jaden Maeva. Just because I've watched them both play and I like their measurements. That 6'4" number sticks out to me.
Okay.
So that's my 1A and 1B is Manning and Maeva. Number 2 is. I mean, I watched my hard part about number 2 is saying it's Julian Sayans is the fact that he got to throw to Carnell Tate and JJ last year, right? So, I mean, who's going to arguably be a top 2 or 3 pick next year?
And have you not seen any Chris Henry tape?
Who's Chris Henry?
Chris Henry Jr. He's the number 1 wide receiver in our draft or in our recruiting class.
Oh, for this year.
Yeah, you need to watch some.
Arguably, so and it's not that it's not that I'm saying that he's not going to have good receivers, so he's going to suck next year. I'm saying that he's had some of the best wide receivers in the game, and let's be honest, Ohio State doesn't necessarily challenge themselves schedule-wise the first 6 weeks of the season.
Here we go. All right, go on. Who's number 3 and 4?
Moving on. And then, so I'm between Julian and Dante Moore at that point. And then I know you love Drew Mestamaker. He played for North Texas, threw for a lot of yards last year. We'll see what happens with him at Oklahoma State. Trinidad, I think he's just a name who's going to get. I mean, Ole Miss, they went to the championship game last year, or the semifinals last year, right? So he grabbed quite a bit of names recognition, and then he did have a hell of a yard with almost 4,000 yards passing. He's going to be, what, like 24 years old by the time he comes out?
So what?
Somebody check his birth certificate. Is he an American? I don't know.
Okay, this isn't like a bowl situation, or this isn't like a Manu Bowl situation. He's not coming over from like overseas anywhere. No, if I really had to rank,
Nico would be an interesting one. Him and Lenore Sellers, they're like the athletic guys. I mean, 6'6", 215, 6'3", 240. I mean, that's like a tight end, bro. I'd have to watch a little bit more of them because, like you said, UCLA, even though they're in the Big Ten now, didn't get a lot of play time last year in any kind of national highlights. And South Carolina, same thing. This year, I'll definitely be watching him because, like I said, Lenore Sellers and what's his name? Nick Harbor, the wide receiver for that team, is just a freak.
Could you see like a Terrell Pryor, Braxton Miller kind of position transition for either of these guys?
I mean, I hope not.
I mean, dude, if
every time that happens, it doesn't work out. I mean, really, realistically, who's the last quarterback to transition to wide receiver that it really worked out for?
Terrell Pryor. He had a 1,000-yard season with the
Cleveland Browns with no other receiver
he was
on the
doing
team.
Everything.
So what happened to him then?
I guess he flared out of the league.
You asked me if it worked out. I wouldn't call that a success story. Okay? I wouldn't call that a success story. All right, Ed, you tell me, brother. Now, how do you rank these guys? Because I know you have a different opinion.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at all these guys here, factoring in where they're at program wise, past statistics, who they are as players, I have to go with my 1A and 1B is Drew Mestemaker and Dante Moore. Love both those guys. Dante Moore, arguably, again, was going to be QB1 in this class in some areas. Some people had him over Mendoza. Some people didn't. I think this kid's coming back and still is just going to put up just amazing numbers. He's going to do some great things. I don't think Drew Mestemaker gets the love he deserves, especially because of North Texas being a small program.
Sure.
Smaller than normal program. The kid's got a fucking nuke on him. I don't think people will understand. If you want to watch some serious ball, you want to have some serious highlights, and you go, holy shit, how did he make that throw? You go watch Drew Mestemaker. I am on this train. You can mark this date. It is March 3rd, 2026. I am on the Drew Mestemaker for QB1 in this class train.
Wow.
100%.
Well, he's going to Oklahoma State, so that'll be an opportunity for him to really pass on.
I really hope everything works out for him. I think, no, in my 2 spot there, I'd probably go Julian Sayin. I think the kid just has so much talent in him. He's so accurate. He's so good. And of course, I'm also a little biased there. My 2A and 2B then would be Julian Sayin and then Arch Manning.
Wow. Arch Manning, 4th in the draft class.
Yep.
I mean, if the Browns end up winning 6 games, I hope that everybody else thinks that he's the 4th best quarterback.
I just don't. I'm waiting to see this.
Does the pedigree not mean anything? I mean, I could understand if it was like
the name. The name means nothing.
The pedigree, not just the name.
Okay,
right? Like obviously, there's a name. Like Deion Sanders, Shedeur Sanders. That's a name. Mm-hmm. Deion was a pro before him. His son.
Right.
The Mannings have had successful quarterbacks for 4 generations.
Okay.
And he's the only one who's actually athletic. He runs like a 4.6, 140.
Does he have those neck injuries? Are we
not yet? We gotta wait till year 18.
I don't know if that was like genetic.
Are you hating on freaking? Oh God, my gosh!
I'm not hating on Arch Manning. You are allowed to be a better player than your boy Arch Manning. I'm sorry.
What makes him a bad player?
There's nothing bad about him. There's
nothing
bad about him.
So angry
because I know what you're trying to do. I know what you're trying to do right now, Will. We're not doing this right now.
What am I trying to do?
You're trying to rage bait me and start saying some wild shit.
No.
Everybody else can rank themselves underneath them. I think Lenore Sellers is super athletic, but he had a down 2025. I think Nico is in way over his head. He left Tennessee, and they are probably glad he's gone because Joey Aguilar did a good job there. I don't know Jaden Maeva too much. I don't watch any USC ball.
Good news is they're on nationally, and they're on every night at 10 o'clock most of the season.
Yeah, and living on the East Coast, Midwest, I'm sorry. I'm pretty much in bed by that time, so I don't watch USC. Sorry, I don't watch any USC football. But yeah, that's pretty much my list. I think Trinidad Chambliss could fit into there in between. I think you can make an argument for anything. I think the fact that he lost his coach, still went and did a ton of great work with the team that he had, just speaks to kind of the character he is and the winner that he wants to be.
Sure.
So that's just my list of those guys right there. Again, I'm still waiting to see some of the guys that are going to appear middle of the season next year of like, okay, there's some traction in this name. We better start paying attention to this kid.
Yeah.
I think 100%. Josh Hoover's a good name. Went from TCU to Indiana now. I think he's in a good system there. That's pretty much the only name right smack dab right off the top of my dome. So,
No,
yeah.
it makes complete sense. All right. So, when does the league year start? March 9th. I want to talk about that.
Okay. Thank you. I thought you were going to ask me that question and then you were going to make me look stupid by not knowing that date. So it starts in 6 days.
March 9th is the opening, and the tampering period begins. The Wednesday, what is it? The Monday before the league year begins.
So can you explain the tampering period?
Yeah. So here, actually, I'll date it back to what I remember. So as a kid, this going back to the late 90s, early 2000s.
Damn, how was the Great Depression?
Yeah. The NFL season started at midnight. So you would literally have to, and shout out to anybody old enough to remember, but you literally would be listening to the radio station, and there's no Twitter. There's no
What?
X. There's none of that shit.
There's no
If you wanted internet, you had
bombs?
dial up, bro. Like you were listening to 1100 AM here in Cleveland at midnight because players would start getting signed like at 12:01. Like I remember Albert Hainsworth, defensive tackle. I just remember him for whatever reason signing his huge record-breaking contract
with the Redskins at the time.
Yeah, with the Redskins.
Man, that didn't work out too
at
well.
12:01. So the NFL is like, okay, you don't negotiate like $100 million 5-year deal in 60 seconds. Like
Yeah.
we know what's going on here. Let's do this differently. Let's make it better. So they came up with the idea of the tamper period, which you can't sign with the team, but you can negotiate, you can discuss contracts, etc. during that time frame. Now, what happens during that time frame? The league year doesn't start until I think 4 p.m. on Wednesday. The tampering period starts at like midnight Sunday night or whatever.
Okay.
So it's like 54 hours ahead of
Yeah.
time. Monday morning at 9:01, 4 in the morning. You know what you get? You still get the guy who's like, Cleveland Browns have come to terms with blah, 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 but they can't sign their contract until Wednesday. So like they're doing the same thing. They're literally agreeing to terms 2 hours after the tampering period, which means before the tampering period, they're still talking to agents on back doors and stuff.
Listen,
and talking
I don't
contracts.
understand these timelines. All I know is the Browns traded for Titus Howard.
Well, dude, don't go off topic here. Hold on a second. We're gonna get to that news.
I know. I just want to throw you a little curveball. I want to keep you on your toes a little bit. You always want to start the chaos a little bit. So I like to stir the pot with you.
We're going to talk about that next because next we're going to get into being the GM and the ownership and running the Browns. So we'll get into that. For those paying attention, to those listening, tuning in, we appreciate you. Thanks for being a fan. Like, subscribe, comment like Raul, who's got all kinds of fun stuff to say, like when's the Kenny Britt comeback tour? And
Oh, boy, the Kenny Britt comeback tour. Why don't we bring back the Dwayne Bowe comeback tour while we're at
apparently
it, too?
Mary Kay was caught hanging out in the showers with the tape measure measuring quarterback hand sizes. Don't know what that's about. But Raul, thanks for the
Why was
comments.
it in
We
the
appreciate
shower
it.
of all places?
Why would Mary Kay be in the showers?
I just don't understand. Okay.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
All right, keep it rolling.
All
Let's
right,
get it.
so Ed, go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you know while I pull some information up for our listeners about the trade with Titus Howard, because that just took place yesterday afternoon, actually.
Yeah.
First
yeah.
big trade of the offseason. Andrew Berry goes out and lands a right tackle.
Yeah, Titus Howard, really good player, 29 years old, big guy. Played multiple different positions for the Texans. I think he played right tackle and right guard at some point.
Yeah, and I think he
He
even
has
played a bit of
experience at
left guard
both.
as well. Yeah,
But he has experience handling multiple different positions. He was the best lineman on that Texans team. Gets a $63 million deal for a 5th-round pick. I got to be honest, I give Andrew Berry a lot of shit. I really do. I don't like him as a speaker. I don't like him what he does drafting-wise. But I got to give it to him. He knows what to do with a 5th-round pick, and he makes something out of nothing.
I think so. I don't like the fact that it's a $60 million deal for this guy.
It's $21 million a year.
I know the fact that that's costing a right tackle is costing us $21 million a year is just.
Why don't you go look at Jack Conklin's
mind-boggling.
last contract and then
I think he
say
was
that?
$15 million a year.
He was still garbage. You know what?
He wasn't. I would say he was garbage. He was one of the best tackles in the league.
Yeah, but he couldn't stay
Unfortunately, he couldn't
healthy.
stay healthy with us. So while we're bringing that up, let's look at what the Browns offseason looks like right now. So with that trade, that actually put the Browns $16 million over the cap. The Titus Howard trade did.
Yep.
He carries a $17.5 million cap hit this year. Now, next year, as of right now, we'll have $106 million in cap space. The problem with that is this year we've got a Watson salary of $46 million, a bonus of $32, so he's counting about $80 million against the cap. Excuse me. And then you've got Denzel Ward with 17 million salary and about 29 million total towards the cap with bonus. So, yeah, I mean, you've got a couple of guys that are getting paid. Now, these are two guys, and we'll talk about this later, that are definitely. Sorry, guys. I don't know why I did that with the screen. I got to remember to switch that back.
Did you not flip it to the share?
It's just on me. No, it was just on you, and I'm the one talking, so it looks probably funny, like you're throwing lips. All right, so. Yeah, offensive line help. Obviously, we don't have any offensive linemen. Joe Bitonio has not officially retired yet, so
they pushed his void date back.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he comes back. What is that decision based off of? Is it just? I mean, the guy loves Cleveland. It's a shame. Oh God, speaking of,
I think he came back last time because we got a golf simulator. His decision was solely based on the fact of being able to do simulated golf.
You know what? However the cookie crumbles, it was good to see him back. You know what I see a lot? I follow Wyatt Teller on Instagram and his wife Carly, and they've been posting a lot. And I saw the video of him like on the 50-yard line in Cleveland Browns is where he asked her to marry him, and they did a couple videos, and it's like, dude, it sucks seeing Wyatt Teller leave Cleveland. He's probably gonna go to the Falcons, dude. I just fucking have this feeling he's going to the Falcons. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But
little Alex Mack career timeline.
Oh, dude. He's gonna follow Kevin Stefanski and Bill Callahan. Why not?
Was Callahan on that staff? Was that official?
Dude, that was official, bro.
I didn't see that.
I mean, he literally took his whole staff. All right. So offensive line help, we need every position. Now we've got a tackle to fill the right tackle spot. And Titus Howard's a right tackle. There's no way he's playing left tackle. So I don't think, and we still have, that's the only person we do have on the roster really that plays offensive line is DeJuan Jones, right? So DeJuan Jones is a right tackle. I don't know if they're going to continue to left tackle experiment with them. That makes me nervous that they got a right tackle and they have DeJuan Jones. Are they going to count on him to be healthy? Are they not going to draft tackle in this class? We're going to find out. We'll talk about that.
Can I also say one underrated signing that we did last year was Tevin Jenkins?
Sure.
I like him a lot.
And he's a free agent this year, so
they're going to have to
pay him to come back. You put him back there,
I think he did a good job. You know, I think this was, I read this online. It was the first time since I think 1970 that a team has lost all 5 starting positions in free agency.
Wow.
So think about that. The security of your offensive line. It's
crazy
so
how that
rare.
worked out, and it's crazy too because if you look back to the last time the Browns were in the playoffs, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, this offensive line was the best in the game. When Nick Chubb got injured, they were the best offensive line in football. If Jack Conklin could have stayed healthy,
really only
they might have been the best. Yeah, they might have been the best offensive line in the history of football.
No, it had to be almost 5 years ago now. In like 2021.
What, Nick Chubb getting hurt?
No, that team being together.
This offensive line's been together for 5 years, 6 years.
I know, it's been a while.
Yeah, this was they were the highest paid offensive line in football at one point.
Yeah,
you had Conklin, Teller, Bitonio, Pochik,
and then it was JC. No, I think it was JC Treader before Pochik.
Yeah, it could have been.
Yeah.
Well, you had Zeitler too at one point, but I think that was before that era.
Yeah.
When Baker was there, I think it was. It might have, I don't remember who it was when Baker.
I don't
was
remember
there.
the left tackle spot there after Thomas tore his tricep.
It was Jedrick Wills.
Oh, that's duh. Yeah. Because he got drafted in 2019.
19 or 20.
No,
either way. Yeah,
it was 20.
Yeah,
it was 20 because that was that the Joe Burrow class?
Yeah.
It was whatever class that Roger Goodell was at his house, and you could progressively see as the night went on, he was standing and not announcing the picks. And then eventually, by later in the night, he's laying in his big ass lazy boy, and he's like, and the 30th pick goes to the Buffalo Bills. They take AJ Epinesa, edge rusher, Iowa.
Yeah, exciting. But yeah, so offensive line's a problem. We already know wide receiver's a problem. Could Jerry Jeudy return to his year before form? I mean, the dude's got talent. His attitude.
He's a fucking head case.
It's his attitude. But at the same point in time, if I was playing for that team last year, I would have hated my life too. We don't throw the ball past 10 yards. I'm never getting the ball thrown to me.
You don't need to take it out on a rookie quarterback.
Well, I mean, that's the next step too. It's not even that. It was just like half-assing a lot. I mean, even some of the balls that Shedeur threw him towards the end of they were so contested because he was running at 70% speed, right?
What about the fumble against the Raiders where he does this juke move and they just swat around out of his hands.
Dude.
How the fuck do you do that?
Terrible.
You're an NFL wide receiver. Why are you trying to play basketball with it?
Ridiculous.
He's trying to play like NBA Street where he sets up for the crossover.
I remember
and just
it, dude.
Smacked right out of his hands.
And then the big thing is we got no sure quarterback on this team, right? We're gonna talk a little about that because we're gonna get into free agency, and I know you've got a couple of signings on there that I found intriguing. But we don't have a quarterback, so let's start there. Let's start in as I stop sharing our screen. Let's start talking about quarterbacks right now. So, big news. I mean, it's kind of been coming. We've kind of known it, but Kyler Murray is most likely going to be released by the time this show's off. Oh, did he get released?
He got released. I was watching it as because obviously we do like a couple minute.
All right, so let's talk
like
quarterback for
the
the
show.
Cleveland Browns. Right now, you got Deshaun Watson and you've got Shedeur Sanders. My mission is to make Cleveland a place for quarterbacks again.
Now, are we playing GM Will and GM Ed here?
We're getting into we're getting into that, but let's first talk about our overall opinion. I put make Cleveland quarterback friendly again, right? So when we talk about what our goals are for this season, based off of the scenarios that we have about what do we need to do, I think that if I'm Jimmy Haslam, if I'm acting as the owner and as the GM of this team, you know how in draft day he writes that little note to himself that says,
I did see Draft Day.
You didn't see Draft Day?
No, I heard it was a terrible movie.
It's a great fucking movie.
I heard it was a terrible movie.
It's actually a great movie. It's
Kevin
it's fun to
Costner's in
watch.
it.
It's fun to watch.
Yeah,
Anyway,
not a movie guy.
and now I just drew the guy's blank, but there's a player that he says to take no matter what. And he writes this little note and it puts in his pocket at the beginning of the day before the NFL draft. And the GM puts in his pocket and says, no matter what, he's going to take this guy. All right. So where I put my little note in my pocket would be no matter what, everything I do this offseason is about building for the quarterback of the future.
Right.
I don't know if that's Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders. I don't know if it's going to be in the 2027 draft next year.
Right.
What I know is every move that I make as a Cleveland Brown should come back to that one golden rule. Am I making this a quarterback-friendly franchise moving forward? And that goes to fixing my offensive line, fixing the wide receiver core, putting weapons around it, and allowing Todd Monken go to work and figure out what kind of offense he wants to build to make us successful, and making sure that I have players, because we're going to talk about our dream scenarios, right? But if I was I'll give you an example. If I was Kevin Stefanski, if Kevin Stefanski was still here, I would be interested in Kyler Murray. Arguably the best quarterback available, has loads of talent, has always been successful, just been injury prone. If you can keep him healthy, you can spend all your picks on trying to find one wide receiver, a couple offensive linemen, and you can find your way to a 9-win season most likely.
So what is the drawback with him then? Why has he not been successful in Arizona?
He's injury prone. I don't know how bought into football long-term he is. And I don't have a roster right now that's built for long-term future winning. So if I give him a bunch of money, that means I can't go out and buy a right tackle.
So rapid fire, then where do you see Kyler Murray ending up? Can we say our answer? Think of it for a couple seconds. We'll say it on 3, okay?
Hold on. I don't even know where I could see him ending up. Oh, actually,
you gotta think he's got a little bit of a cannon on him.
I honestly know. I know exactly where I could see him.
All right, well, let's say it on 3. Ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Atlanta.
Minnesota. Wow, really?
Yeah.
Why Atlanta?
Because they're not sure about Michael Penix, injury prone as well. They released or are going to release Kirk Cousins from his monster contract. And that's a team that's got star power at tight end with Kyle Pitts. They've got a wide receiver in Drake London. They've got Jordan Robinson at the back.
They got good bones.
They've got an offense ready to be led by a quarterback, and it's indoors.
Okay. Yes.
So I think you put a Kyler Murray in that scenario.
That inside piece that you just mentioned, that's a very underrated piece. It's a controlled environment scenario.
Yeah, 100%.
I said Minnesota, and that's strictly because I want to see just how nuclear that offense could be with a great tight end.
Minnesota's indoors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're indoors. You've got Justin Jefferson.
Can I say my point?
Yeah, go ahead.
Jeez. I know it's indoors. Obviously, it's indoors. God damn it. Well, you threw me right out.
All right, I'm sorry. Go.
I just like him. Okay. I just like him there. I think it's a good fit. I think it's dual threat, like within that controlled environment. And you got Justin Jefferson and you got a bunch of supporting cast members there.
I think either one of those teams would do really well with Kyler Murray behind the helm.
I like it.
He's
And
just not for Cleveland. I would love Kyler Murray. I'm a Kyler Murray fan. I loved him coming out of college. I mean, obviously he's short. He's a little guy, but he can sling the rock. I think.
How tall do you really think he is?
Dude, if there was a piece of paper nearby, they slid it in there to call him 6 foot.
No, this is what they did. They found that same piece of paper and they just went. They rolled it. They rolled it a few times. And said, "Yeah, that's 6 feet to me, boy."
But he could be somebody that Cleveland could have brought in, and I think that would have led to us win. We would have won more games than we will with Shedeur. I'll put it that way.
Regardless where he goes,
I think we'd be an 8 or 9 win team with him.
I don't think so, but okay.
Let's say that we could be, though. What does that mean for us? That is not 8 and 9 wins. Most likely has you just barely in, not good enough, or not making the playoffs. And here's the reason you're an 8 or 9 win team. This defense will keep you in every single game.
Absolutely will.
If you can score points, Kyler Murray can score points. He did it in Arizona with really not a lot there other than, with an offensive line that was
Here's
terrible.
my problem is with Kyler Murray, if you're really talking about him going to an 8 to 9 win team in the Browns, you put the Browns in what is known as purgatory.
100%.
And that is the worst position to be in.
And that's why I said every move you have to make has to be about building a team for the future quarterback of the Cleveland Browns.
Let me ask you this. Do you think Kyler Murray gets signed before or after the NFL draft? Because that's going to determine a lot.
I think he gets signed before. I think that's irrelevant. He's not. No. I mean,
it's irrelevant.
I don't think he's a player. Here's the thing. This isn't a quarterback strong draft. This isn't where you have teams looking for a quarterback that are deciding, well, do we want to draft a quarterback or do we want to sign Kyler Murray?
Yep.
Now here's the question for you though. Does he get signed before or after Malik Willis?
Ooh. Does he get signed before or after? You know what? I gotta say he gets signed before Malik Willis.
You think?
Resume.
Yeah.
I think what's carried him is his resume. We don't know that Malik Willis can really carry a team.
Can I tell you, you had this on your list that Malik Willis was a free agent signing that we're on, because we're gonna get let's just
go right into
let's
it.
Get into our philosophy.
My philosophy.
Hold
is
on. So philosophy before we talk about who we chose for each. So you guys stand by. This is the part where we're gonna get into who we want in the Cleveland Browns as who we want them to. We're acting as the GM and owner.
Can I also say I love for those of you who are just listening, but those who are watching, graphics.
Thank you.
10 out of 10 job.
I just wanted to give a special shout out to ChatGPT for taking my vision and putting it out onto graphics. You did an amazing job.
If you have an entry-level technology job, get ready for it to be replaced by ChatGPT.
The other thing that I want to reach out and make sure that we mention during this Guys Night podcast, we are sponsored by the one and only Y-Not Solutions. If you're looking for woodworking to be done in the greater Northeastern Ohio area, these guys do it all by hand, are hands-on, touch every piece of wood that goes through the shop. Make sure you are not getting that crap from China, even though probably nothing's coming from China for a while. Anyhow, Why Not Solutions? Check them out. Link in the description. You can find them on our website, guysnight.com. You can also find the link to all our other affiliates, including Buckeye Brownies. This week, the Arnold is coming up in Columbus, Ed, and Buckeye Brownies is your surefire way to celebrate after you're a competitor on stage and you get off and you're done for the day. Go ahead and shove yourself a mouthful of Buckeye Brownies with about 2,000 calories of goodness.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you said, I was going to ask you where the big cutting board is. That Why Not Solutions?
The big cutting board is upstairs. I'll show. We'll have a video coming out lately, but I went ahead and did the viral Costco meat slab breakdown. Have you seen that? So essentially, you get like a 2-foot long New York strip tube.
Oh, I've never seen that.
And you can cut it into your own steaks.
Yeah, it's like 12 different steaks. They do the same thing with the ground beef.
So I spent $131. I got 25 New York strips out of it.
Really?
All between 8 and 11 ounces.
It's pretty good.
So it came out to, about $7 a steak is where it came out. I was pretty happy with it. I think it was $9.99 a pound is what it prices out that way versus $16 or $17 a pound for a New York strip at Giant Eagle right now. So yeah, dude. So that's where the cutting board is. I put Why Not Solutions Guys Night cutting board to work.
I need to tell you the story. Okay.
All right, go ahead.
It's not sports related, and I know it's Guys Sports Night, but do you want to know how much I paid for a steak the other day at one of the chains? One of the big steakhouse chains.
Which steakhouse chain?
Outback.
I'm guessing you paid like $35 for an 8-ounce.
$44 for a New York strip.
That is insane.
It's ridiculous.
That is so insane.
They messed up my dad's food. Mind you, my father is 70 years old and diabetic. And he didn't even eat. He looked at the server and went, "I want to speak to the manager."
Oh, jeez.
Do you want to know the most terrifying look I've ever seen in my life came from that server? When she literally looked at my dad and went, "What?" How do you say? I'm like, yeah. Listen, it's 6:30 at night. I got enough anger in me to fuck up some manager's night. Bring his ass over and fuck Outback. Okay, Outback stinks.
Brutal.
Yeah, I'm gonna start doing that. Will I'm gonna get myself a nice grill. Get myself a nice Why Not Solutions cutting board and start serving up the meats properly.
It's the way to do it, bro.
WhyNotSolutions.com, guys. Go check them out. Buckeye Brownies, guys. Go check them out as well. We love Zach. We love the guys over at Why Not Solutions as well.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. All right, so let's get back to now. The first part I just want to talk about. What's your focus on building the Browns? Are you building them for now, or are you building for the future when you took this into consideration?
When I was looking at this and my philosophy of some of the options that we were going through, I selected a controlled rebuild or a controlled retool.
Ooh, dude, that's scary. Want to hear
solid bones with complete defensive reset, or I'm sorry, solid bones with defensive complete, but a complete reset on the offensive front.
So you're gonna keep So mine was a controlled potential youth built for a quarterback.
Okay.
Meaning I don't want to rush into anything. I'm counting on 2027 being the year I get my quarterback if Shedeur doesn't work out. If Shedeur works out, peachy fucking king, dude. Like, we're on fire. Let's go win 10, 11 games this year. All right. But if Shedor's not the answer, we win 4 or 5 games. Actually, my thought on this was if we are like at the trade deadline and we have less than 3 wins, we just nuke the entire roster.
100%.
I would get as much as I can for everybody at that point, except Myles Garrett. Can't do it,
bro. I
can't do it. If he was in this draft class, he'd be the number 1 overall pick, even if you got him for 5 years.
Well, no shit.
All right. Any cuts that you're making? Are you cutting anybody that's not already a free agent?
What did I say in my notes? Yes, I am. I'm not touching DW4 any longer. I'm restructuring
him. 80 million. I mean, I guess you could, but you're paying 80 million no matter what.
I'm just not touching him anymore. You got to eat the cap at some point. I'm eating it this season. I'm restructuring Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward's contracts, 2 biggest on the roster. Really need to just free up some cap space as much as possible. And I'm trading Jerry Jeudy for whatever, just to get his money away from this team.
So when you trade these guys, Jerry Jeudy just signed a contract 2 years. You're going to take a cap hit still. I
don't think it's as bad as everybody thinks it is.
It might not be, but I mean, here's the way to look at it. I mean, you could have a third wide receiver on a team getting $8, $9 million a year. You might be paying him $9, $10 million a year just to trade him away. I mean, at that point, you might as well keep him on the roster. If he becomes that big of a problem, but I'd have to pull up his numbers. I'd have to check
Spot Track just to see kind of what his numbers are via his cap hit in relation to his salary. But I'm trading Denzel, old, and he's injury prone. I want some youth on this team.
Oh, we just talked about it. He's drafted in 2018. He's an 8-year cornerback in the prime.
But dude, he's got 6 fucking concussions. He's got, and dude, for a cornerback, it's a young man's game.
All right.
You don't see how many.
All right, we're gonna get into trades in a minute. All right, so free agent targets. Who are your free agent targets?
Free agent targets in order, not in order. I'm sorry, and just listed off positions that I have here. Malik Willis, quarterback. Isaac Semelo, he's an offensive guard. Really good tape. Really underrated. Romeo Dobbs, Nakobe Dean, Cade Mays, he's a center. And Monteric Brown, he's a cornerback for Jacksonville. It's either commit or struggle. There's no middle ground for the bullshit.
Okay.
So stay young on this team. I don't think there's a lot of young free agents.
Are you re-signing anybody?
Devin Bush.
You're bringing back Devin Bush?
I'm 100% bringing back Devin Bush.
Okay. So I took free agent approaches to my offensive line. The way I looked at it is that if a guy's played in the NFL for 4 or 5 years on the offensive line, chances are he is better than anything I'm going to find in the draft. Not that I won't draft an offensive player, but 2 in particular, Tyler Lindenbaum, the center from Baltimore. That's my number 1 target this free agency. I'm doing everything I can to get Tyler Lindenbaum, locking him down at center. I feel at that point it's a lot easier for me to have an opportunity to bring back Joe Bitonio because he's got a Pro Bowl center that he's next to. You've got a right tackle on the other side. At that point, you're looking at another guard. You're hoping and possibly a tackle in the draft. or you have DeJuan Jones come back and hopefully manage to stay healthy. I'm not counting on that, but that's the opportunity there. I'm also looking for my guards. Evan Neal, former 7th overall pick, was a tackle drafted by the Giants 4 years ago. They didn't take on his 5th-year option. He was kind of injury prone the first couple of years. Didn't have the best pass blocking numbers, but run blocking, he was top 10 in the league 2 years ago.
Would you kick him inside a guard at that point?
Yeah, I mean, I think now he's playing right tackle for the Giants. I think you're signing him as a guard at that point. I'm putting him between Titus and my newfound center, Tyler Linderbaum. If Evan Neal's not an option, Elijah Vera Tucker is another one. Obviously,
I like him. I've loved him a
lot. So those are the two. I'm going after Linderbaum, and I'm going after 2 guards. Those are really only my free agent signings. Now, that doesn't take into consideration, Andrew Berry's going to go out there and he's going to find the guys that are like 25, 26 years old that are kind of either athletically gifted, former first-round picks that didn't quite make it, second-round picks that didn't quite make it. There's a couple of them out there. To me, Evan Neal's one of those guys. He's on the cheap because of being injury-prone. And like I said, having some struggles in the passing game. So I think you bring him on, you get a 7th overall value pick from 4 years ago, and you can make him a right guard and hopefully put that together. And then re-signing, I'm looking at 2 guys. Devin Bush, I'm bringing back. He's 27 years old, former first-round pick, played lights out for us last year. I don't want to make any changes to this defense that I don't have to. And then due to a trade I am going to make later, I'm going to try to bring back Martin Emerson, coming off of a Achilles injury, if I'm not mistaken. It wasn't ACL, right? It was
ACL or Achilles.
Yeah, it's one of the two from last year. I don't know what's going to happen with him. Obviously, he had an amazing rookie year, Pro Bowl type, and then he fell off his 2nd year. Last year would have been his 3rd year. I think he's a free agent after this season. I'm not 100%.
It doesn't make any sense to me. He's a 3rd-round pick, and he's 3 years in, and he's already cut.
I think I'd have to check on that.
But
I believe he's set as a free agent. So those are the guys I'm bringing back. All right, so trade talk, and I've got some graphics for this. I didn't put any graphics together for our other aspect, but I do have some graphics for our trade talk. So I've got your 2 trades that you've got up here, Ed. I hate these. I hate one of these trades. One of them I don't really hate it, but I don't think it's possible. But we're gonna find out here in a minute what the fans think. So if you're watching this and you see this, please let me know what you think of Ed's trade proposal. As I've got it up here, Ed is looking to trade Myles Garrett in a blockbuster trade. He thinks he's going to get 3 firsts and 2 second-round picks, but you don't think he's good enough to keep.
I would just trade him.
So you're going to trade him for 3, most likely. Who's your trade target?
I don't know. I'm taking the highest bid here.
Okay.
I would imagine this is one of the highest looking offers that you'd get for Myles Garrett.
I think 3 firsts. I don't think 2 seconds are coming along with it.
Absolute peak value.
I agreed. Definitely peak value.
If this is the time, this is the steak to take off the grill. This is the perfectly cooked, medium rare. You cut into it. You melt the fucking butter on it. You salt that motherfucker up. This is the time to eat that steak.
All right.
This is the time to get rid of Myles Garrett.
All right. So what you're saying, you're going to trade him 3 firsts and 2 seconds. Let's even say for a second, a team's willing to give up that kind of haul. What did they give up for Sauce Gardner last year? 2 firsts,
something like that. Yeah,
2 firsts and a second. So you're asking for 3 firsts and 2 second rounders. So that's more than they gave for a quarterback. So this has got to be a team that's ready to win right now. Who are you going to trade him to?
I don't know. I don't have that team in mind.
Okay.
I'm literally just, this is a figurative just lesson here of like, if 31 other franchises offer Myles Garrett a trade, or the Browns a trade for Myles Garrett, this is what I imagine a rough copy of that trade would look like.
So here's the downside to Cleveland trading him now. One, he's got a no trade clause, so he has to.
That does suck. Yes, but he
didn't have one last year. So if you were going to trade him, now you're the one who said, Barry comes out and says straight from Cleveland to Canton. So if he trades him now, he's going to look really shitty on that. Two, if he trades him now, he's going to look like the world's worst GM, because if he would have traded him a year ago, he could have traded him to the.
He's not doing himself any favors.
He could have traded himself to a top 10 draft pick team and had 2, 3. I mean, think if he would have traded him to the Bengals last year or the Cardinals.
A lot of fans that stand on my side of things and go, yeah, I'm willing to trade him. I'm willing to let him not suffer anymore.
But you also said you don't want to blow it up and tank it. You want to rebuild it and keep your defense steady. And now you're trading your best player on your defense that arguably makes your defense. This guy won 2, 3 games for you last year. Going down those last 5 games where we were competitive in every single one of them, half of it was because they didn't want Myles Garrett to break the record, and they spent all their time and focus trying to stop the most unstoppable defensive player in football right now. And you want to give him away
for the highest value. Yeah,
I can.
There are sacrifices. There are sometimes plans, fall, off the table. Not everything follows a step-by-step process here. Yes, I did say I would like to have a complete retool of this team and keep the bare bones of this. But if a team is looking at me and saying, hey, I want to give you all of this draft capital so you could fix your future and add to the production of your offense and add new players and keep players, you know how much money, how much opportunity there is now freed up from, because of Myles Garrett being gone and Denzel Ward being gone?
He just paid him, so his fucking cap hit's astronomical as well. So you're not saving yourself any money. But here's the more important part. If you were going to trade him, it's because you were rebuilding the entire team and you were stretching it. So you trade him for 3 first rounds. Let's say those 3 first round picks were even this year. You trade him to the Jets. Let's look at those 3 first round picks. Is Arvell Reese or David Bailey anywhere near as good as Myles Garrett?
Right this second? No.
Even coming out of college, compare them side by side back then, it's like night and day. Like not even close athletically or skill set.
Are they gonna replace Myles Garrett's entire production?
No, but even if you drafted 2 of them, they might not be as good.
But that's why he's the number 1 guy in the league.
I get that. So then you want to give him away, so then at that point,
that means I have to sacrifice something in order for the future of my team to be better off. Yes.
So then why are we signing anybody in free agency? Why are we even re-signing Devin Bush? You were essentially, if you trade Myles Garrett.
Why is the sky blue? Well, I don't fucking know.
It was your suggestion, right? And you had some other free agent names on there, right? So you're saying I'm going to trade Myles Garrett, but I want to keep my team competitive.
Well, I don't have a rhyme or reason for 99% of the shit that we talk about on here, and you want to argue with me on this point. If Myles Garrett is on the trade block, this is what a team looks like. Okay, we're not arguing what the
I don't think you get the 2 seconds. So let me ask you this. Okay, all right, so let me ask you this. If you got 3 first and that was it, would you do that trade?
I'd have to have a player involved. I need something extra. You are giving up the best player at his position and the best player on defense.
You're not even giving up the best play. You're giving up one of the top 3 players that plays the game of football in the NFL at the height of his career after proving. I mean, here, let's just take the second best defensive player in football 2 years ago. The one that won Defensive Player of the Year when Myles Garrett doesn't win it is TJ Watt, who fell off a fucking cliff last year. And frankly, next year might struggle to get 10 sacks. And they're the same age out of the same draft. Myles Garrett is light years above him talent-wise. Oh, man, I can't get rid of him. Oh, you broke my heart. And then the other trade, you got Denzel Ward. You got a 2nd and a 5th for Denzel Ward.
Yeah.
I think you're getting a 1st for Denzel Ward.
No, you're getting I even want to articulate that. I want to trade that for like a
look up the
third.
Look up the Sauce Gardner trade. Look what they gave up for Sauce Gardner, who's 3 years younger than Denzel Ward. And tell me, and who's injured as well? Didn't he miss all last season with Achilles injury at the end?
Something like that. Yeah. He's also rapidly
declining.
Yeah.
Look that up and let me know. And while you're doing that, I'm gonna pull up my trade screen and we'll see what looks different over here.
Okay, so it's Indianapolis. The Colts for a 26 and 27 first round picks and wide receiver A.D. Mitchell. So they got a player and 2 first round picks. If you're getting 2 first round picks from him, all right, we're gonna go over my trades and I'm gonna show you because I agree. I hate it because I love him. I know Cleveland fans are gonna hate it. So if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, you're probably not gonna like what I see. But I'm getting rid of. I'm trading Denzel as well. Unfortunately, I think that it's just at the point in time where you got max value for him and cornerback's an easier position to fill. You're going through a defensive coordinator change. So I got 3 trades this offseason. Obviously, the one that Barry just made. I think that I can pull Marvin Harrison Jr., especially now that they've released Kyler Murray. I think that I can get them a first-round pick this year, which is my 24th overall. I'm giving him my 27 fourth-rounder next year to Arizona for Marvin Harrison Jr. Arguably, he'd be the number 1 wide receiver in this draft, so I'm not giving up anything that hurts me. I'm giving up my first-round pick, which I might have spent on a wide receiver anyway. I might as well get one of the best in the game as far as talent capabilities go when he came out 2 years ago. Had some injuries last year. I don't know if you're pulling up any of his statistics, but I still think he finished with 10 touchdowns last year, if I'm not mistaken. 800 yards. I was checking on Denzel Ward's age. For some reason, I thought he was 30. He's obviously not.
No, I think he's 27 or 28.
He's 28.
28. So that was the first trade. I think that solves the Browns wide receiver problem. You put Marvin Harrison Jr. there at your number one receiver. You give up a first round this year, a fourth round next year. Arizona's going to be in complete rebuild mode. This will give them an opportunity to back up and start building.
He had
around
4
their
touchdowns
future.
last year.
What about the year before?
He's had 12 career touchdowns.
Okay, so he had 8 the year before. So he's a third year player, and arguably they talked about him being the most complete wide receiver to come out of the NFL draft in like 10 years when he came out. And he hasn't lived up to it, but that's kind of right in Barry's sweet spot, is finding those players that haven't quite lived up to their potential and trying to get a solid out of them. Unlike Jerry Jeudy, he's got a good head on his shoulders, comes from NFL pedigree with his dad, was one of the best in the game. His years are the best, are still in front of him. He's also athletically gifted, but not in the sense of where it's like a freak, where he's more likely to get injured or have issues or things like that. So I think he'll be a strong fit for us.
I think a new setting. I like this trade a lot.
Yeah.
I think you even mentioned this. We were talking about this weeks ago, and you're like, I'd give up a second round pick for Marvin Harrison. And I was like, I looked at you for a second. I was like, I really like that, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's worth it. I think Marvin Harrison is a serious threat that could get traded at some point, and I think he could evolve. I'm sorry.
Well,
I think he could evolve into a serious threat.
Yeah, and they just came out this week actually and said there was rumors about him being traded to the Cleveland Browns, that Andrew Berry asked about him at the combine. So stay tuned on that. Hopefully something comes to fruition. If so, you remember you heard the talks here first. Will McEwen, first rounder. Fourth rounder next year, Marvin Harrison Jr. becomes a Cleveland Brown. That's my first trade. My number 2 trade, I'm trading Denzel Ward, and I know who needs a cornerback more than anybody right now, and that's the Detroit Lions. They don't really have an outside cornerback. I think if I give them Denzel Ward and a 6th-round pick, I can get their first-round pick this year. They're in win-now mode. It doesn't jeopardize their picks in the 2027 draft. There's not a cornerback as good as Denzel right now. He fills a need for them, and we've got a 17th overall pick in this year's draft, and we'll see where that goes later. But since we're trading number 24 away, we might as well bring something back in return. And my final number 3 pick here, I like athletically gifted wide receivers with great ball skills. Coming out of college, Xavier Leggett was just that. We missed the opportunity to draft him. Whatever.
Leggett. No, not whatever.
We had the missed opportunity to draft him in the 3rd round. I really wanted Cleveland to draft him. This is my chance to bring him back. In fact, in Madden, every year I get him for like a 6th-round pick. So I'm bringing him in for a 7th-round pick. He's got 1-year deal with $3 million guaranteed on it. It's not like he has a big contract. He's not really doing anything in Carolina. I kind of had a down year last year. And I figured that they're just going to be willing to move off of him. So those are my 3 draft picks, or 3 trades that I've got set up for the Cleveland Browns this offseason. What would you rate those trades if it were you, Ed? Would you be happy if you heard any of those trades come through?
I'd be happy with the first trade.
Yeah.
I don't like trading the 1st and 4th rounder for Marvin Harrison. I think he's on a slow decline. I mean, I think there's a lot less value. You're giving up something super serious for Marvin Harrison, who's yet to really prove himself. I would say maybe like a 3rd and a 5th.
So here's the thing. If you were drafting this year, would you draft Carnell Tate over Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Man, dude, I don't know. They're like, they just don't play the same. Really, I think Marvin Harrison coming out of Ohio State versus Carnell Tate, Marvin Harrison stands above them all.
Right.
So, I don't know.
So for me, it's like 24.
I don't know. I can't put a tangible value
15.
on that.
Yeah, I understand.
Would I give up 38 for him? Would I give up 38 and like a 4th rounder?
I don't think you're getting him for that, though. I mean, believe me, I tried playing with trades. I literally, so I actually tested these out in theory. I tested this out like a 2nd this year and a 3rd next year, a 3rd this year and a 2nd next year, and all these different.
People are overvaluing it, though, especially the computer model. As there's been plenty of drafts or trade steals that have happened.
So this is about the only one where I got where it's like an 8.5 rating for both. It says, Arizona's on the mend for rebuild. Cleveland needs an offensive line.
Bro, we got Amari Cooper for a 5th.
Yeah, but Amari Cooper wasn't 23 years old on a rookie deal.
Amari Cooper was Amari freaking Cooper, though. He's a dog.
I get it for a year. I get
it. Can I just make one note with you?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't like the Tyler Linderbaum situation.
Oh, why?
I think center is one of the least valuable positions on that offensive line. And that's a lot of money you're going to commit to him. I mean, you're saying 4 years, $90 million?
That's what I kind of guessed.
Right now, the
highest centers, we just paid $21 million for a tackle. But
a tackle is inherently more valuable
He also
than a
has
center.
a 68 PFF for the last 2 years.
He's a good offensive
He's an average,
lineman.
like 21st tackle rating last year. or something like that.
Yeah, but he can also play multiple different positions. A center can only play sometimes.
But he's the
center.
best in the game right now, and you have a chance to build an offensive line around him.
There's a lot of other money that you can allocate somewhere else. I'm sorry.
All right, well, let's talk about where you were offered, because you had some free agent signings. We skipped over them to get into the trades. What did you have for your dude? You're all over the place. You're such a fanboy sometimes, I swear to God.
Why?
Because
what did I do?
You want to trade Myles Garrett, you want to trade Denzel Ward, you want to rebuild the team, but then on your free agency draft pick, or free agencies, you had Malik Willis.
Yeah.
Why are you trading or signing a
trades are just
quarterback?
hypothetical. They're not a real move, Will. It's just a fucking hypothetical.
You're the GM. These are the moves you're making to prepare for the season. You're going to re-sign Devin Bush, but then you're going to trade Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, which is essentially going to tank your defense. It's going to be literally a shell of itself because you're eliminating a shutdown corner and the most prolific defensive end, which is then going to eliminate the power that your other defensive end has that you just extended. Hold on. And then you're going to go out and sign Malik Willis and be like, hey, come play for my team. We're not going to have a fucking very good defense, but you could run like crazy and do all the stuff that you could do. And you showed that you could do that in 3 games with Green Bay, how many did he win? I don't think he won either of the games.
No, not 3. I think he won
No, I don't think he won any of the games that he played in. He had to look.
Still
fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure he didn't win any. But let's. That being said, let's go over your free agency picks here.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Good. Okay, so I obviously had Malik Willis in there. Okay, I still like him. I still want him. I'm still gonna say it. I still like Malik Willis. I think there's a lot of people going to be going after him. Okay. Isaac Solomaleo, he's an older guy. Okay. So he's an offensive lineman and a left guard for the Steelers. He's coming off one of his best years for the Steelers. I think it'd just be a good piece.
You say he's an older player though?
Yeah. He's 32.
Oh yeah. For me, that's too old, but
I mean,
this is your team. You also want to trade Myles Garrett. So go ahead.
But you got to understand, I'm just trying to put some stuff together here. You'd like my center from the Panthers, Cade Mays.
I don't hate that pick.
He's 26.
I don't hate that.
I still like Nakobe Dean. He's got some question marks on his coverage, but he's still young, he's still very good. And when he was out of Georgia, Romeo Doubs, again, still young, still very good. Monteric Brown. Have you ever heard of Monteric Brown?
I have not heard
I'm
of Monteric Brown.
I'm going to read you some stuff here. I'm going to pull up his PFF.
All right, you do that.
So, and I also like the fact that you shit on me for going to PFF, but yet you're referencing PFF. just some stuff to touch on here, Will. That's all. I'm just trying to help you out here. So stay sent out. Let's go Monteric Brown. The Jaguars. I don't have any Wi-Fi anymore. So
who needs Wi-Fi anymore? We're in the 2000s.
His overall grade
you don't have a data plan.
His overall grade was a 72.8.
Wow.
That ranked 21st out of 114 cornerbacks. Okay. Snap count. He was in the top 25% at 49th out of 217.
Yeah.
736. In interceptions, he was inside the top 20 with 2, which isn't anything super crazy. But for a 6 foot, 190, 26-year-old, hey, if he's available, that sounds like a Cleveland Browns player if I've ever heard one.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm looking here. It says that projected market value is going to be somewhere between 9 and 12 million, which means it'll probably be closer to 14 million. He'll probably be like a 3 or 45 million deal. Now, if I get my first round pick for Denzel Ward, dude, I'm all over that pick. I'm all over that signing.
Me and you are going to fight. We're going to actually throw hands here.
What?
I don't care that you went to war.
I just agreed with
this
you.
graphic right here.
Well, we haven't even gotten to that. We haven't even gotten to that.
I'm not trying to jump ahead here.
You're jumping ahead. All right, so I mean, that's a free agent class that you're saying like, oh, you're not really retooling. You're signing a quarterback, so you're going to literally have $100 million.
But I'm also putting 2 offensive linemen next to him that are needed.
So you're
a left guard and a center.
Okay, you're putting 2 offensive linemen on there. I don't hate the center pick, the right guard at 30.
You bring back Joel Petonio and you draft an offensive tackle.
All right, so that's your game plan. You still don't have a wide receiver.
You signed Romeo Doubs.
Oh, Romeo Doubs. What? I mean, okay, you signed Romeo Doubs, but then you want to trade your best defensive players away. So to me, it's like, well, what are we building for right now? Like, that's not putting a team around the quarterback and then either developing Shador or finding your quarterback.
Do you want to win a Super Bowl or not?
Hoping. I don't think you're gonna. You think that Malik Willis is going to win you a Super Bowl? Let's remember, he was in that draft in the 3rd round when the Steelers picked Kenny Pickett. He went to Tennessee and did nothing. He went to Green Bay. He played in 2 games, and now everybody's wanting to pay him $25 million. Like, that's out of your mind. Like, it's not like he went and played with Kyle Shanahan for 6 months. You're better off trading for Mac Jones.
I mean, I wouldn't mind putting Mac Jones on
and
here
in that
either.
case, I would rather sign Kyler Murray. He might cost me the same amount of money. He's got way more experience in the NFL. Malik Willis could come and do. You know who he could be? Who is the quarterback for? He could be Matt Castle. He could go get $100 million deal based off of 1 year and turn out to be a nothing fluke for like Castle did for Seattle. I hate that signing. I hate when people talk about signing Malik Willis for the Cleveland Browns.
So do you want to stick
That is the last thing we need right now.
Do you want to stick it with Shador?
Yes.
Why?
Because Shador's house money. I already have him. He's on a contract for a 5th round pick. He showed some flashes last year. I can spend all my resources on building an offense around Shador. And if he sucks and we win 5 games, I have one of the best quarterback classes in NFL history, most likely, coming out next year. And even if it's only the 10th best quarterback class, they're all going to be better than Shador Sanders. And at that point, I've built up my offense. I've kept my defense together as best I could, and I can mortgage 3 years of first-round picks if I need to.
The list
to
that I
up.
created is my dream list. It's not everybody that I'm going to magically just sign in an instant.
But I understand that. The idea
you're
is
going to lose out. And there's
realistic.
31 other teams trying to play the same game here with us.
Maybe, but I don't think 31 other teams are trying to sign a quarterback.
You know what? Me and you will agree to disagree. We'll talk about this more as time
All
goes
right. Well,
on.
hey, look, we've went through trades. We've went through the free agent signing period. We're going to wrap this show up on a couple of terms. We're going to go through the NFL draft. We're going to talk about our mock draft picks. Now, remember, before I did my mock draft, I traded Denzel Ward in a 4th or 6th round pick to Detroit to pick up number 17. I then traded number 24 and a 4th round pick next year to Arizona for Marvin Harrison Jr. So in this draft, I'm going to have the 6th overall pick still. I'm going to have the 17th overall pick from Detroit. I'll have 39 and I have 70. We're going to do a 3-round mock. So without further ado, I'm going to show you my 3-round mock draft. And are you ready for this, Ed? This is going to get you excited, dude. I'm telling you right now. I put some real serious thought into
put this stuff into motion, I'm starting to like this a little bit better.
I'm telling you, I've got this together. All right. So with the number 6 overall pick, this is hard for me. I'm going with Caleb Downs.
I still hate it.
You know what? I started to hate it this morning too, but I already made the pick, right? I love Caleb Downs. He's instinctive. Pairing him next to
Grant
Delpit and then having him behind Myles Garrett and Schlesinger and just, that defense just sounds sick. Gets me excited. The highlights on this dude are freaking insane. Here, let's just watch a little bit about him and tell me that you don't get excited about
dude. We don't need to watch some
just
highlights.
Look at this dude, man. I mean,
yeah, I think it looks great on the big screen. Will.
Oh, you can't see it on the big screen. My bad, guys. Actually, they can see it. You just can't see it.
No, I know. I've seen Caleb Downs. I've seen enough of Caleb Downs.
I mean, the dude's just a baller. He's going to be an amazing player for this team. I can't wait to see him play for the Cleveland Browns. Now, here's the downside. I'm a little freaked out of the news coming out of the degenerative knee issue.
The degenerative knee diseases that he has.
Well, it's a degenerative ACL, which essentially means it's like a thing that older people get. It like builds up on your ACL. It doesn't necessarily mean it's more likely to tear, but it's more like about knee pain, swelling, etc. He did have a partially torn. But we're getting this secondhand. This is an article that came out on yahoo.com from somebody who said an NFC scout said it. It's probably the Dallas Cowboys
I'd
scout.
like to see some actual medicals report come out. And actually when Peter Schrager and Field Yates and the real big dogs in the game.
So that was the interesting part. So this came from an NFC scout associated with that's mentioned it to Yahoo. I don't think anything. I think if it was anything more, it would have been bigger news. It's kind of on the Reddit files and stuff like that right now. We'll see. But if I'm the Cleveland Browns, I've done my due diligence. If he's healthy, he's my number 6 pick. Would I entertain a trade down? Only if it nets me a 1st round pick next year.
100%.
Only way I'm entertaining.
I 110%. If there is someone there that's slipping and falling, and I even noted this on my own, I just want to read the note here for it. It's a no question trade for the 6th overall pick. It all comes down to who is going to slip or fall to 6. Who wants it more? The Chargers, Texans, Ravens, Steelers, etc. All depends on who's going to fall. Maybe what does the return look like? If you're moving down 8+ spots, you need another 1st next year, no question. I verbatim wrote that right here.
Yeah, I think
so. I 100% agree with you there.
So Cincinnati's been rumored to like Caleb Downs. So is Dallas. either of those two teams, they're giving me a first, and I don't want Dallas's 24th pick this year. I want their pick next year. It's 100%. That's the only way I'm trading out of 6. If Barry pulls up and grabs like a 3rd rounder to move down to 8 and skips on a talented player like Caleb Downs, and here, I want the Browns to necessarily go defense? No, I'd love for them to go offense. I just don't think an offensive tackle in this draft is worthy of the number 6 overall pick. I don't like the wide receivers enough to take them number 6. I don't think they're game changing enough to do so. Maybe if Tyson didn't have the injury issues, that's possible.
He really could separate himself again. Like we even mentioned this earlier. All 4 guys, all the big 4 names in there.
Yeah,
they all could very well go anywhere from 3 to 32.
Yeah, this is if Caleb Downs is even available at 6.
Yeah.
The Giants could absolutely pick Caleb Downs. They already have their big 3 in the sense of an offense with quarterback, running back, wide receiver. They've even got some decent tackles. They're not gonna. They could go with him, and they took a defensive end last year, right?
Yep.
So that could mean like an Arvell Reese falls down to 6, David Bailey falls down to 6. Frankly, if that happened, I wouldn't be totally against it, but I would hope somebody who needs a pass rusher and be willing to move up.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's where I stand at pick 6. With my 17th pick, so I ran probably 25 mock draft scenarios, and almost every single one of them had Freeling falling into the late 20s. Now, obviously, he had a great combine this past weekend. He's top news. Everybody's talking about him. I'm hoping that a little bit of injury history and the fact that there's the hype kind of dies down through times is that Freeling falls down to like number 17, where I have that from that Detroit pick.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, I still like Proctor there. I think Lomu from Utah is still going to be there. Either way, that pick for me is going to be a tackle spot. Only thing that changes that is if this scenario played its way out this way, and at number 17 somehow the wide receiver from USC, I just drew a complete blank, somehow showed up. Mekhi Lemon. If he somehow dropped to 17, then I would take him over the tackle at that point, because I just valued the pick. And if I could pair Lemon next to Marvin Harrison Jr.
I've said this always. I've said this pretty much since Sonny Styles tested. I wish we had a need on defense.
Yeah.
Because at 17, if that all worked out, 100%.
Yeah, that'd be another great pick.
Sonny Styles.
And here's another thing too. Andrew Berry, 1st round picks, best player available. Obviously, needs important, 100%. But when you're talking a 1st round pick, that whole idea that you would take, let's say your need is wide receiver, and he's the 20th overall target, but somehow a top 5 guy falls down to you at 11, and you take a wide receiver, like we did with Corey Coleman back in the day. We need a wide receiver. We drafted Corey Coleman. There's a fucking dozen other guys we could have drafted that would have been better for us long term. Same thing here. All right, we got to speed through this. 2nd round, I've got pick 39. I don't know if he's going to be here. Zachariah Branch. Actually, it says USC. He played for USC 2 years ago. Dude's lights out. Ran a 4.35 40. Super agile, quick feet. Great screen, slot receiver style receiver. He's short, but he's got a great return game too. One of the best punt returners in the country. If he's there at 39, I really, really like him. And then if you see the guy on the right, that is Jennings Dunker, dude. Could you look at that mullet and just tell me how awesome it would be to see him playing at the guard position? He plays tackle for Iowa, but he's most likely going to move to guard. He's a mauler. In fact, his NFL comparison, Wyatt Teller. Yeah.
Pretty fitting, man. Pretty fitting.
So that is my mock draft. I think that puts the Browns, if you can pull that off, I think that along with the trades for Marvin Harrison Jr. puts the best team I think I can build if I was building a team around Shedeur Sanders and giving him every opportunity to succeed with that roster, with that offense that I've put around him, with my free agent targets. If he doesn't, no problem, dude. Shedeur Sanders, you're out of here. I'm mortgaging everything on those top 5 picks next year trying to get me my quarterback.
Yeah. So
give me 1 second before. Are you about to share?
I'll take some time to just touch on. I think the only thing that I didn't like there, I think Zachariah Branch is a little high. I don't think he's going to go really that early into the 2nd round. He maybe go into the later half of the 2nd, maybe even into the 3rd. But really, what I wanted to. Thank you for pulling this up for me.
Yeah, give me 1 second here.
You're
I
good.
gotta pull up the screen here. Yeah, I've got your mock draft set here. So those of you guys listening, please like, subscribe to the podcast. We'd appreciate it. This is Guy Sports Night. We're talking NFL draft offseason. We are running the Cleveland Browns. It is our time to shine. And I've got Ed here going to be showing his draft. So you guys saw my mock draft, and we'll put these out afterwards so that you guys can play with him. I've got some highlight reels too of this stuff that I would love to
We
share.
we can go through it after. I will just say for one quick thing. Like I said, I don't think Zachariah Branch is going to go that high. I think Caleb. Again, until we get any kind of confirmation, I still think he's going to be that top 10 guy. He was arguably the best defensive player in the country last year with Ohio State. So I don't think there's any issue there. But yeah, I wanted to just go through kind of my thought process on some of this stuff. On what I looked at here, first overall, I think Monroe Freeling, again, absolute mauler at 6. Again, this is going to be dependent on how the board looks. There could be 2 wide receivers taken in the top 5, even further. And it all depends on who's going to sit there. I'm of the essence of there's 3 of the hardest positions to play on this offensive side of the ball is your quarterback, your wide receiver, and your offensive tackle. And those are arguably your 3 most important. You need some guy on the blind side to protect Shedeur. What better than a big body, massive frame, good workout type of warrior like Monroe Freeling. I like his stuff at Georgia. I think he moved really well. I think he tested very well. I think he's going to be the best left tackle in this class. Next, going on to that at 24, I'm not simulating any trades or anything. Just realistically here, I have 3 wide receivers. The big 3 are gone in Tate, Tyson, and Lemon. I think people are sleeping on Omar Cooper Jr. 6'2", big guy, was a big time, just absolute baller for Mendoza on that Indiana team. He's not talked about enough for some reason. I don't know why. I didn't get a chance to see any of his combine stuff, so I don't know how he tested. I'll be honest.
Yeah, 6'1". I think he's like 205. He's got about 30 pounds on Zachariah Branch. Ran a 4.4 240. Was about a half a second slower on his 10-yard separation, but I mean he's a great prospect. I don't think that he's out of round or out of the first round, second round talk. I don't know if he'll. That to me seems early, but I haven't looked at where Punions have him because frankly
we got to just remember though when in the mode of drafting. You have to go up and get your guy. The board is irrelevant. When you truly believe and see a guy that you sat there and seen and watched tape and seen his character and how he talks and how he approaches the game and his thought process throughout, you go up and just get your guy.
Well, I agree. At that point at 24, I mean, whether you pick him at 24, you pick him at 31, or if you pick him at 34, I agree. I don't believe in playing games at that point. Now I do believe in best player available. If that's the best player available and it fills a need, that's a win. It just depends on what happens. I mean, here, let me ask you this though. So we obviously know wide receivers a need.
Mm-hmm.
Now for the defensive line of the Cleveland Browns, Shelby Harris is a free agent. What's his name? Injured himself last year.
Michael Hall.
Malik Collins,
yeah.
And Michael Hall was okay. The Browns defense struggled after Malik Collins got injured. So if the defensive tackle from Clemson, who's really weird at what is happening to, he could drop to 24. They're saying
he was one of my. I didn't get a chance to say anything about it, but he was one of my big drops.
Yeah, I mean, last year he was possibly a top 10 pick. I don't know what. I feel like
2024 Peter Woods and 2025 Peter Woods are 2 completely different players.
I didn't watch much of the tape on 2025 to prepare for this.
It wasn't pretty.
So I'm interested to see what people are saying. If you have been watching him specifically over the last year and you've got some feedback, love to have it. But knowing that defensive tackle's a need as well, is it possible to take if he falls that far? Is that a value pick for you where you say I can't pass up on a best player available?
No, I think Peter Woods has kind of cemented himself into the second round.
Really?
I think he's pushed himself all the way out.
Wow.
He was up there, man. You got to think going into preseason, he was up there as one of the top guys in a top 10 selection. And as the season gone on and as things progressed and his lack of play really took a dive, he's played himself out. And the combine didn't do him any. It's not like he was this athletically gifted guy to begin with. He was good.
Right.
But the combine didn't do anything to solidify him. He just didn't test very well.
I was just looking up because one of the things that's happened over the last couple of years, I mean, going back to the Raiders picking, was it
Cleveland Farrell?
Yeah.
Oh, God. What a terrible pick that was.
As defensive ends and defensive tackles from Clemson seem to sneak up and get drafted when you least expect them. I'll be interested to see where TJ Parker falls and how that affects Peter Woods, because I think 1-1. I think if TJ Parker falls out of the top 15, then I could see Peter Woods go into the second round.
They're both 2 wild cards for me. I could see the reasons why teams take him early. I could see why teams let him just fall down the board. I don't know. I really don't watch too much Clemson.
Yeah,
I have no reason to watch them.
Sure, I haven't watched them since Deshaun Watson was there.
No.
Big fan, Deshaun Watson.
Going into 39, though, here I have Emmanuel Pregnon. one of the most highly touted guards in the class.
Yeah, USC tackle actually 2 years ago before transferring to Oregon. Moved
play
into,
guard.
now I think Oregon he still played tackle, but they're planning him as a guard. Or did he play guard at Oregon last year? I didn't see that.
From what I know of him, from what I saw, he was always a guard.
Okay.
Now again, he could have played tackle at USC.
Big dude. I think he's like 6'4", 340 or 6'5", 340.
I
mean, definitely it could be a mauler athletically for sure.
And again, that kind of fits into this. Okay, you have Titus Howard. Now you have Monroe and Feeling on the left-hand side. You got your tackle solidified. You re-sign Tevin Jenkins or you re-sign Joel Petonio, whoever the hell else. Now you have Emmanuel Pregnon, who is truly, I personally believe, a plug-and-play guy. You have one of them on one side, Emmanuel Pregnon on the other, and you figure out your center spot as the draft goes on. And I mentioned some guys here down at pick 70. I think it's a crapshoot at that point. I said Michael Trigg, tight end out of Baylor. He's got good numbers. Zachariah Branch, if he falls that far, absolutely. Connor Liu out of Auburn. He was one of the best centers in the class. There's a lot of different things and a lot of moving parts. I have to see how the board falls and see who's sitting there
Well, it depends on what you do in free agency too, because in this case, I mean, Emmanuel Pregon's not probably somebody you're going for if you sign 2 guards in free agency, right?
That's, I mean, again,
if you
that's
sign
true.
a center in free agency, you're probably not finding a center in the first.
Or if you
2
ask him,
rounds.
hey, if you're comfortable playing tackle, you want to do it again at left.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not even of course he's going to say yes. He wants to get drafted as high as possible. And,
Well,
what NFL offensive lineman doesn't want to play left tackle? That's where the money goes, right? You're talking about $25 to $28 million a year versus the best center in the league is getting $18 million a year. And then your final one, you had a couple down here. I picked Michael Trigg. It says wide receiver, but he's a tight end out of Baylor. Yeah, tell me a little bit about Michael Trigg.
You know, I haven't seen too much of him at Baylor. Let me pull up his stats because honestly, I just know him from these mock drafts. I haven't had the chance to spend too much time on film. And it pisses me off because I work so hard all day long and I want to come home and watch tape. And I'm just like, I just don't have the motivation to. Really, I'll just kind of give you the rundown for it. He's 6'4". He's 245. He obviously played in the Big 12, had about 700 yards last year and 6 touchdowns. For a Baylor team that honestly wasn't too impressive, to say the least. Sawyer Robertson led that team. I like Sawyer a lot. I think he's going to do a lot of good things. That's another quarterback that if you want to look at.
Well, I was going to say, he was actually on the board. You know, it'll be interesting to see what he does. He's out this year, is he not? Yeah, because he was a senior at the Senior Bowl.
Sawyer Robinson?
Yeah, was he not?
I believe so.
6'4", 220 out of Baylor.
I have 210, Mississippi State, and then Baylor.
Yeah. Wow.
Threw 31 touchdown passes.
Yeah, he had a hell of a year last year, so we'll see where he falls. All right, so obviously we build our team the way that we both looked at it from 2 different angles, and we talked about the mock draft and what we're seeing. And I wanted to kind of just talk about a couple of things. So obviously around mock draft season, the big thing is all these pundits that do this for a living, right? And they talk nothing about it. So I wanted to see if this would be intriguing to you. Daniel Jeremiah, Mel Kiper, and McShay are the 3 that I compared on draft night. For the top 10 picks, Jeremiah got 80% correct, Mel Kiper 70%, McShay 60%, so 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. Out of the first round, how many, if you had to get, do I have my numbers there in front of you? Or are you looking at them? Don't look at them.
I don't even know.
All right, out of the first round total, 32 picks, how many direct hits, meaning team, player, pick, do you think each one of those 3 guys got? Right.
Last year?
Got right. Yeah. In 2026, between Jeremiah, McShay, and Kiper, out of 32 first-round picks, how many do you think they got the player, the pick, and the team correct
I would say Jeremiah probably got the most right with like 13.
5.
Really?
Daniel Jeremiah, 5. 5 direct hits out of 32. So for those that play the March Madness, right, and talk about the tournament and the mock draft would be its own March Madness bracket. Maybe we should, instead of doing a March Madness bracket, we should do a guys night draft bracket.
Oh God, dude, that'd be terrible.
And do a live, and then we'll do it here live, and then whoever gets the most right, would be that. All right, so Jeremiah got 5. What do you think Kiper got?
I mean, if Jeremiah got 5, I would have to say Kiper got 2.
4.
Oh.
4 direct hits. And last but not least, McShay.
1.
3.
Damn.
Now, out of 32 picks, right? Not just 32 players chosen in the first round.
Yep.
Who do you think got the most and how many of those first round names right? So out of 32.
So the names themselves that appeared in the first round.
Doesn't matter what slot they got picked in.
Kiper got the most.
Second most. 21.
Jeremiah.
Jeremiah,
Yep,
23 out of the first round, and then McShay finished with 20. So even these guys who've been doing this for 20 years, Ed, are only getting 23 out of the 32 guesses correctly. So think about that from a GM's standard, right?
It's almost a third.
When you're a GM and you're sitting at pick 18 and you have to guess who the 17 picks are going to be before you, could you imagine that job? Wondering if you're sitting at 18, if you need to give up next year's second round pick to go up to 12 and get your guy.
Yeah, because you have no idea.
Or if he's going to fall to 14, or if some random team from 29 is going to jump ahead because they heard that you talked to him for 5 extra seconds at the combine. It's just insane.
It's a little bit of a sweat.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that whole process of the draft.
We love it.
Well, it's not only that, but it's the medicals, like all this news. An NFC scout is the one who comes out and says that the safety from Ohio State might have a knee issue, right? So, okay, is that the Dallas Cowboys scout who's hoping that he falls
the Rams,
he falls to 12, or the Rams hope he falls to 13? Is this their way of sneaking a top 6, 10 pick into the later teens?
You know what's funny is actually now that I'm thinking about this, I remember there was an interview that McShay did a couple years ago, where he was sitting there and he's like, yeah, everybody was shocked at the fact that Cole Strange, an offensive guard, got drafted in the first round by the Patriots. McShay was sitting there and he goes, yeah, it was a bit of a shock. I mean, we were looking at him at 112, and he got drafted at 23 by Bill. I didn't know really what to expect right there. We don't know.
Well,
that's the first example that I thought of.
I mean, we're a quarterback needy team. How many mock drafts last year had Shedeur Sanders going in the top 10?
2? Yeah, in the top two. Yeah.
Right? And then he falls to the 5th round. I mean, I don't think anybody's ever been that wrong before. Like, I would love to look at the stats and see if anybody was projected to be drafted in the 1st round, not go into the 5th round. That is insane, how wrong they got it. But, it is what it is. All right,
who was the quarterback? Let me ask you, who's the quarterback for the Panthers that got drafted by them? And Mel Kiper said, if this kid doesn't work out, I'm going to quit my job. I'll quit my job. Oh, man.
Are you talking about not their current
It wasn't a mock. He actually got picked by the Panthers. Jimmy Clausen. That's it.
Oh, gosh. I do
Mel Kiper went on air and said, if Jimmy Clausen doesn't work out in the NFL, I'm going to quit my job.
That was a pretty good impression.
I can do such a great Mel Kiper impression. It's hilarious.
All right. So before you do your Mel Kiper impression, let's look at what's the floor and the ceiling for this Browns team. Based off the moves you made, or just based off of what you truly believe is the floor and the ceiling for this Browns team.
If things go the way that I think, I think they're gonna at some point they're gonna take offensive tackle, wide receiver, and some ancillary pieces that are gonna work themselves out. They're gonna sign another guard. I think they're also gonna add. They're gonna also pay attention to the cap casualties as well. They may come and evaluate those guys as well. I think this team realistically is an 8-win team.
Yeah.
That's most.
That's the ceiling.
Yeah. I think the floor is 4 wins.
Yeah. You're almost right on where I picked. So I did this based off of my trade or my offseason. So let's review my Cleveland Browns offseason. Offensive free agency starts. I'm going after Tyler Linderbaum at center. I'm going after Evan Neal at guard. Those are my 2 big splashes. I try to re-sign Devin Bush. Moving into the trade season before the draft, I'm looking to Detroit to give up their 1st round pick this year, number 17 overall, for Denzel Ward. I'll give them a 4th round or 6th round pick on top of that. And then I'm looking at moving my 24th pick to Arizona, along with a 4th rounder next year for Marvin Harrison Jr. to fill my wide receiver spot. My 1st round of the pick, I'm going with Caleb Downs. My 17th pick I get from Detroit, I'm going with Monroe, the offensive tackle out of Georgia, or Freeling. Yeah, Monroe Freeling, the offensive tackle out of Georgia. 2nd round, I'm going with Zachariah Branch. I've built my team around Shedeur Sanders. I've filled up my defense. I've kept my team from falling apart.
Yep.
And maybe I go after the cornerback that you mentioned to fill my slot with Denzel. Hopefully,
Monteric Brown.
Yes, Monteric Brown's a name to watch. And then I'm going with my 3rd round pick. I like the mullet, Jennings Dunker out of Iowa. So that's my team. I think that team has a ceiling with Shedeur Sanders at quarterback of 9 wins, squeaking into the playoffs in a terrible AFC North division. I have a feeling that it could end up being a 4-win team, even with those upgrades, because Shedeur ends up being just that bad. I don't know. Shedeur, I hope he gets the whole season. He's house money. Either he's really cheap quarterback for the Browns for this year and next year, and we win 10, 11 games based off of him getting better, or he starts off really, really bad. We even throw Deshaun in there for a couple of games. The Browns end up deciding by the trade deadline, it's time to tank this season and plan for next year. And I really, 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 even if Shador takes this team to 8 or 9 wins, I'm still thinking quarterback next year's draft.
I am
like
1,000%.
You're not going to tell me that if Shador takes this team to 8 wins, that a Jaden Maeva or an Arch Manning can't take this team to 12 wins the following year.
I'm going to tell you this right now. Honestly, until Shador shows out that he can throw 30 touchdowns and 12 interceptions, you're 100% always thinking quarterback.
Or yeah, I mean, no matter what you're looking, that's what this team's all about, right? So
I'm gonna leave on this note, Will. I'm gonna close out everything that I have to say with this. Drew Mestamaker's gonna look good in brown and orange. That's all I'm gonna say.
For you that are listening, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Comment, like, subscribe, share your thoughts. What do you think of our drafts? Yell at Ed for trading Myles Garrett for an unbelievable haul that might net us a bunch of worthless
hate me because you hate me, boys.
Whatever you want to do, but please share the show. If you want to be part of the show in the future, talk sports, we're happy to have you. Next week's the Arnold. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about who wins.
No. This week is the Arnold.
Yeah, this next week's episode will be about the
Arnold.
Okay. And we'll also next week we'll be able to talk about the World Baseball Classic because 2 days from now we get the start of pool play.
I'm not leaving my house at all. This is my weekend.
Well, we appreciate everybody joining. Like I said, like, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff. Judge us, grade us, hate us because you ain't us. We don't care. This is the Guys Sports Night with Will and Ed. Thanks so much for having us, and good night, everybody.
See you guys. Thanks.